Hi guys, good afternoon. Am I clearly audible, visible guys? Is my screen visible to all of you?
Your screen is visible, but you're not visible. Yeah,
Am
yes,
I
sir.
Priya, am I visible?
Yeah. No, sir. We are able to hear your audio and
Which is
see
fine.
the
I'm saying
screen.
my screen is visible, right now?
Yeah, yes, yes.
Alright. Dhanushri, Abhishek, ऋषिका बेटा, मंशी, मेरे को तुम दो देख क्यों नहीं रहे हो भाई? दिखोगे नहीं तो फिर मैं बात कैसे करूंगा? अभिषेक कुमार जी,
Yes, sir.
ऋषिका मैडम, ऋषिका पेपर देना है ना आपकी बार?
No, sir. September 10th.
अच्छा, नहीं देना है, कोई बात नहीं। मंशी,
Yes.
फोड़ के आना है पेपर किसी हाल में भी, है ना? कम वॉट में, कम वॉट में मंशी जी। मुझे रिजल्ट ऐसा चाहिए कि मंशी मेरे साथ यहाँ खड़ी होनी चाहिए।
Yes, sir.
कॉफी मंशी हम इकट्ठे पियेंगे रिजल्ट वाले दिन।
Definitely, sir.
पिटाई हो जाएगी अगर कोई धोखा दिया मेरे को तो। श्रेया, धनुश्री, you're okay?
Yes, sir.
You're seemingly coming across to be very tensed. Why, my friend? Why is the way it is? Why you that tensed? See Shreya is as always she's as happy as possible. घबराना नहीं है बेटा, घबरा that was good one Shreya. That was really a good one. But एक चीज बच्चे अच्छे से समझ लेना, and we should certainly circle this down, and that is कि बच्चा इस पेपर में ना बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि आप एग्जाम देने जाते हो और आपको एग्जाम रूम में ना ऐसा लगता है कि अरे इसमें तो कोई पढ़ाई वाली बात ही नहीं थी, इसमें मैंने जो पढ़ा वो तो लगा ही नहीं, इसमें जो मैंने मॉडल सुने या समझे वो तो आए ही नहीं। तो घबराना नहीं है बेटा, बिल्कुल भी नहीं घबराना। धनुश्री, be ready for it that you would get to see couple of the questions in the exam wherein you would not be able to apply anything, any model to that. So let's not get worried out there, come what may. What we really need to do is we should attempt that in the best possible way as to whatsoever the case may be. As in, what is the common sense that is that is prevailing out there. Just apply that and move on, my friend. Let's not get tensed, come what may. एक मॉक एग्जाम मैंने भेज दिया है, अभी थोड़ी देर पहले भेजा है। एक मॉक एग्जाम मैंने भेज दिया है, एंड आई वांट ऑल ऑफ यू whosoever is giving the exam as in the June 2026 attempt to practice that. Attempt that mock exam in the timed conditions. अपने 3 घंटे 15 मिनट का स्टॉप वॉच लगाओ और उसे अटेम्प्ट करो बेटे। अटेम्प्ट करके मुझे भेजना। आई विल कम बैक टू यू विद माई कॉमेंट्स एज टू व्हाट एग्जैक्टली is something that you're doing wrong. Abhishek, I was talking to you on this. Attempt that in a timed condition, beta. Do not attempt it just like this, कि मैंने कर दिया. Don't do that. Attempt it in the timed condition. That is one. Two, जब आप मुझे and try to target to give it to me by Sunday night, so that in couple of days I can come back to you. We'll have one-on-one sessions and I can really tell you what exactly is not working your way. Now, what is going to be there in store today, and of course, what is that we'll be covering in these 3 days to come? We are going to be covering, I would say, the cherry picked topics that I've really taken up for our discussion. So, what I'm, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I have a bad throat. Uh, what I'm trying to build out here is that the grand revision, the strategic business leader grand revision for June 2026 attempt is gonna be covering various topics that I've cherry picked for Manshi, for Rishika, for Abhishek, for Dhanushri, for Priya, for Shreya. श्रेया कैमरा बंद नहीं करना है बेटा, मुझे बहुत नाराजगी होती है जैसे ही कैमरा बंद हो जाता है। For everyone, to ensure that we are able to revise those areas, understand those areas, and then probably come up with a strategy. For example, I was speaking to Abhishek a couple of days back. he mentioned that he is struggling in the application of suitability, acceptability, and feasibility analysis, or suitability, feasibility, acceptability analysis, whatever the case may be, SFA, SAF, whatever you want to call it. What I'm trying to build out here today is to give you a strategy, beta, in terms of what exactly you should be doing when you would get to see a question like that in the exam. Let's say बच्चे क्वेश्चन आता है धनुश्री of XYZ in relation to strategy. बच्चे कोई क्वेश्चन ऐसा आता है जो आपको तंग करता है फ्रॉम द परस्पेक्टिव ऑफ स्ट्रैटेजी, कि मुझे इस क्वेश्चन में अगर स्ट्रैटेजी लगाना है तो मैं कहाँ पे एक्सटर्नल एनालिसिस करूँगा, कहाँ पे मैं इंटरनल एनालिसिस करूँगा, कहाँ पे बेटा मैं फाइनेंशियल एनालिसिस करूँगा, कहाँ पे मैं फाइनेंशियल एनालिसिस करके एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी देखूंगा, फिजिबिलिटी देखूंगा, एंड सो ऑन सो फोर्थ. सो व्हाट विल ट्राई टू बिल्ड आउट हियर टुडे इज गोना बी कि अगर ऐसा क्वेश्चन आए अभिषेक को, तो अभिषेक को उस क्वेश्चन में क्या करना है. अगर मंशी को ऐसा क्वेश्चन आएगा, एक्स आया तो क्या करेगी, वाई आया तो क्या करेगी, जेड आया तो क्या करेगी. हम आज उसको बिल्ड करेंगे बेटा, ताकि हम उस चीज से निकल जाएं कि जहां पे हम स्टक होते हैं. बात समझ में आती है? बात समझ में आती है अभिषेक जी? नाराज हो मेरे से, आज बात ही नहीं कर रहे हो मेरे से?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
अच्छा फिर ठीक.
Am I audible?
यस यस, वेरी वेल माय फ्रेंड.
Yes, sir.
मंशी, बात समझ में आती है बेटा?
Yes, sir. Definitely.
All right. So coming 2.5 hours, what we'll be spending together, we'll try building up various concepts. We'll try building up various areas. And I can tell you, people who have given the exam earlier, at times we guys struggle with the strategy. आज का पूरा जो सेशन है वो स्ट्रैटेजी बिल्डिंग पे रहने वाला है. विल ट्राई टू बिल्ड अप द स्ट्रैटेजी दैट यू नीड बेटा टू एंश्योर दैट यू आर नॉट missing on the rightful strategy from the examination standpoint. बात समझ में आती है? श्रेया फिर कैमरा बंद कर लिया, पिटाई होने वाली है. अच्छा, श्रेया ने कहा मैंने तो चला तो दिया, दूसरा चला दिया ना, पहला नहीं है तो क्या हुआ. ठीक है श्रेया, ऑल राइट, आई गेट दैट. वेलकम गाइस, वेलकम टू द ACCA Strategic Business Leader Grand Revision for the June 2026 attempt. We are standing today on day 1, and as I have been saying, we would be covering a lot in the coming 3 days, my friend. And I can tell you one thing: be ready for a roller coaster ride. Abhishek, be ready for that. Certainly it's gonna be a roller coaster ride. But Rishika madam, don't worry, you would certainly enjoy and have fun in this journey, because इस पीरियड के अंदर हम एक एक चीज को उधेड़ देंगे in terms of what is really needed for you to kill the exam in the best possible way. प्रिया मेरे साथ हो? भूलना नहीं है बच्चे, मैं भूलना नहीं है प्रिया, मैंने सोने भी नहीं देना है किसी को बेटे. मेरे साथ हो? All right, let's move on, guys. Let's move on in terms of what we really want to be covering, and of course getting on to the deep dive. All right, so of course we'll start off with some celebrations. We'll start off with some good good feel good factors in terms of people who have really come up with the flying colors, and of course who have really made us proud, and they are the proud Fintrammers, of course, roaming around the world, being in in various corporates, and so on and so forth. Now if you're really of course, for the people of seeing us for the first time, especially on the social media platforms, they should know, guys, in terms of what Fintram Global is, what we do, the way we do. Fintram Global is a global learning platform for various global qualifications across the world. We do ACCA, we do US CPA, we do CFP, we do CMA, we do IFRS, enrolled agent in US, and so on and so forth. From the ACCA's perspective, Fintram Global is a one-stop shop for anything that you need, end-to-end support that you need, right from ACCA registration to, of course, the coaching that you really need, to the discussions that Abhishek is having with me right now. हम खूब सारी बातें करते हैं, to the discussions that we have, to the coaching, to the mentoring that you need in terms of killing this in the best possible way. All right, the kind of faculties that Fintram really brings onto the table is something that really distinguishes us from any of our counterparts, because we are not only professionally qualified faculties over here, we are having the very much relevant experience from the industry parlance. We all come from industry. We have worked for for various organizations, and the kind of experience that we try to build on from here is something to be relished, because हमारी classes theoretical नहीं होने वाली हैं. We are very well adapted to the latest syllabus, of course, areas. There are some changes that have come up. We always try to ensure that we are duly taking care of that. Of course, the kind of support that Fintram really provides not only revolves around the study per se, but it also helps you in terms of getting the right guidance for you to really appear in any interview, and of course so that you can work for any job across the globe as an ACCA. All right, so that's a brief about us in terms of what we do. अच्छा, एक छोटा सा brief मंशी बेटा मैं अपना भी दे देता हूँ in terms of what I have done, and of course who you're really interacting with. My name is Pankaj Dhingra, and I'm a professionally qualified chartered accountant, and of course a US CPA, having more than 2 decades of experience in various corporates. So I've worked with Wipro. I was the global controller there. I moved as the head of finance for BlackRock, and then from there I moved as the finance head for BCG, the Boston Consulting Group. While I've been working for various corporates, I've been very close to the fraternity in terms of helping the CAs, the ACCAs, the US CPAs achieve their dream. And that's how I can very proudly say कि आज मेरा coffee प्रिया बेटा outstanding है all throughout the world. That is the reason my balance sheet is very coffee heavy. We are at times call it liability heavy, asset heavy. See, I'm calling it to be coffee heavy on the asset side of it, because that's what we are known for. और प्रिया, मैं आने वाला हूँ बेटा, जब एग्जाम क्लियर हो जाएगा ना, तो I'll be there to have a coffee with you too, come what may. मैंने नंबर अपना दे ही दिया है डायरेक्ट यहाँ पे. If you have any query, of course, you can reach out to us. If you really talk on, in terms of what we'll be covering in the coming 3 days, we want to ensure that we are understanding what ACCA has been saying us, what ACCA what ACCA have been observing as an issues. And of course what we have done in these revision sessions is कि मैंने ना बहुत सारी एग्जामिनर रिपोर्ट को कवर करने की कोशिश करी है. एग्जामिनर रिपोर्ट बेटा हमें सिखाते हैं कि वो कौन कौन सी गलतियां हैं जो बहुत सारे जन कर जाते हैं, ताकि श्रेया मेहता जी बिल्कुल भी वो गलतियों को ना करें. तो श्रेया, इस चीज़ का ध्यान रखते हुए हम आगे बढ़ेंगे और हम कोर्स सीखेंगे पुराने बच्चों की गलतियों से, ताकि हमसे वो गलतियां ना हो. We have, of course, as I said, I've cherry picked various topics for you, various important syllabus area topics that I've picked up. We would be deep diving onto those areas. I have also picked up, Abhishek ji, some key technical articles. Sir, technical article कराएंगे या करने पड़ेंगे, कैसे पढ़ेंगे? नहीं करना है कुछ भी, मेरे साथ रहना है बस, और कुछ भी नहीं करना है. If you're with me, we'll take it to the peak. We'll talk on the exam techniques, my friend. As I said, I really want to build up what you really should be doing from the examination perspective. So we'll try to build that up. We'll also touch upon the professional skills, the formats, and we also do some kind of analysis on the past examination question papers. In fact, in today's sessions also, you would see, I've tried categorically mentioning few things that has happened in the past papers, so that हम उनसे बच्चा कुछ सीख सके और वो गलतियां मंशी जी हम ना करें. All right. When we have done with all of this, we'll of course gather together to have the discussion on the SBL latest pre-seen material. Remember, अभी जो latest question आया वो क्या है? वो DKK का question आ गया. देखो इन्होंने कैसी कैसी इंडस्ट्री हमारे लिए ले रखी हैं. आज ये हेयर ड्रेसिंग इंडस्ट्री का क्वेश्चन हमारे लिए लेके आ गए हैं जून 2026 में. और यही एक ब्यूटी है बेटा इस एग्जाम की कि ये कुछ भी पूछ लेते हैं, ये कोई भी इंडस्ट्री टच कर लेते हैं. The question that we have installed this time is a question of the hairdressing industry. A company named DKK, Dennis and Coco. They're the third largest company in the country, having 40 years of experience. Of course, we'll touch upon in detail when we will do the pre-seen material. And they're having a base in the country called Killand. अब इन्होंने ना बहुत सारा ज्ञान मुझे इस इंडस्ट्री के बारे में भी दिया और इस कंपनी के बारे में भी दिया है. मैंने पढ़ना शुरू कर दिया. बच्चे, आपको अभी प्री सीन मटेरियल पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है. प्रिया जी, मेरे पे छोड़ देना. मैं आऊंगा प्री सीन मटेरियल के बारे में बात करने के लिए, डिटेल में डिस्कशन करेंगे. और मेरे कराने के बाद अभिषेक जी प्री सीन मटेरियल पढ़ना शुरू करना. उससे पहले प्री सीन मटेरियल को देखना भी नहीं है मंशी पुत्र. बात समझ में आती है? बिल्कुल आती है. That's what we'll be covering. So we'll have a pre-seen material discussion on day 3. अच्छा सर, pre-seen material तो आपने करा दिया, हमने समझ भी लिया. अब सर pre-seen material के ऊपर कोई मॉक एग्जाम दोगे, कुछ मॉक कराओगे कि हम टेस्ट तो करें अपनी स्किल्स? मंची ने कहा और सर ने मान लिया. चलो मॉक एग्जाम भी लेके आएंगे. मॉक एग्जाम लेके आएंगे, वो मॉक एग्जाम आप अटेम्प्ट करोगे और हम आपको बताएंगे कि श्रेया मेहता जी, ये गलतियां एग्जाम में बेटा नहीं करनी है. So once we are done with the pre-scene material, maybe on a Tuesday or on a Wednesday, you would get a mock exam from us on the pre-scene material to make sure that you have a full grasp of the areas that are under consideration. अब ना एक डिस्क्लेमर देना है मुझे यहाँ पे ऋषिका जी। वो डिस्क्लेमर ये है कि रिवीजन सेशन जो है ना, ये फुल कोर्स करने का ऑल्टरनेट नहीं है। तो रिवीजन सेशन की तरह लेना है श्रेया शर्मा जी। ये बेटा कैप्सूल नहीं है जो खाओगी और एंटीबायोटिक की तरह आपको ठीक कर देगा। नहीं बेटा, ये तो वो ग्लूकॉन डी है जो मेरे को गर्मी के टाइम पे चाहिए होता है। सो दिस इज इफेक्टिवली माय फ्रेंड a dose that you need to really revise the content in no time and then sit for the exam to the best extent possible as a result. So what we would do in the coming 3 days is not going to be a replacement of your whole coverage of the sessions. मंशी को बात समझ में आती है बेटा? बिल्कुल आती है। All right, let's move on guys. Let's move on and start from the learning that we have, because now we have the latest examiner report that was being issued by ACCA that is based on September and December 2025 attempt. अब ACCA पता क्या करता है बेटा? अब ACCA ना हर अटेम्प्ट की एग्जामिनर रिपोर्ट इशू नहीं करता है। वो 2 अटेम्प्ट लेता है और उसकी एग्जामिनर रिपोर्ट इशू करता है। अभी जो लेटेस्ट एग्जामिनर रिपोर्ट ACCA की वेबसाइट पे अवेलेबल है वो September/December 2025 अटेम्प्ट की ही है। इन्होंने अभी मार्च 2026 की एग्जामिनर रिपोर्ट इशू नहीं करी है। ये मार्च और जून की इकट्ठे से करेंगे। कोई बात नहीं, हमें तो लर्निंग करनी है, हमें तो समझना है। ऋषि का बेटा मेरा इंटेलिजेंट है, वो सिर्फ ये देखना चाहता है कि कहाँ कहाँ बच्चे गलती कर रहे हैं और प्रिया उन गलती से सीख के आगे बढ़ सकती है। तो चले प्रिया जी देखें। चलो, बैकग्राउंड ऑफ द क्वेश्चन क्या था? क्वेश्चन आया बेटा लिवल का। लिवल एक होटल इंडस्ट्री थी जो एक 4 स्टार होटल बिजनेस था, और मंची कैंडिडेट का जो रोल था ना बेटा, वो सीनियर बिजनेस एनालिस्ट का था जो एडवाइस दे रहा था लिवल के डायरेक्टर्स को। बिल्कुल ठीक है सर। प्री सीन मटेरियल में 2 इंटीग्रेटेड सेक्शंस थे हमेशा की तरह। एक जो होटल इंडस्ट्री के ऊपर बताता था इन द कंट्री कॉल्ड एसलेंट, एंड ऑफ कोर्स दूसरा वो कंपनी के बारे में बताता था जो है लिवल। अगर इस बार भी आप देखोगे तो जो आपको जो 2 इंटीग्रेटेड सेक्शंस दिए गए हैं आपके प्री सीन मटेरियल में, उसमें भी एक सेक्शन बात करता है केलैंड की। केलैंड इज द कंट्री इन विच the overall hair dressing industry is really operating. So केलैंड के ऊपर जो होटल इंडस्ट्री के बारे में, सॉरी हेयर ड्रेसिंग इंडस्ट्री के बारे में जितनी डिस्कशन करी हुई है वो फर्स्ट इंटीग्रेटेड सेक्शन है। सेकंड जो सेक्शन है वो आपका डीकेके के बारे में है, उस कंपनी के बारे में अभिषेक जी जिस कंपनी का क्वेश्चन एग्जाम में आ रहा है। और डेनिस एंड कोको के बारे में सेकंड सेक्शन है जिसके बारे में हम पढ़ेंगे और समझेंगे इन टर्म्स ऑफ व्हाट इज देयर इन दैट कंपनी। श्रेया मेहता जी मेरी बात समझ में आती है? मेरी वॉइस क्लियर है बेटा? मेरे को आवाज नहीं आई श्रेया मेहता जी। All right, I love that, Shreya. Thank you. That really helps. All right. Now, what was given to you in a question on the exam day? Now we understood, that of course that was a hotel industry question. We understood that on the exam day, following additional information was given to me. There was a question, there was a case of potential acquisition. So of course, they were trying to acquire a hotel, chain of hotels. And of course, there was an information that was being provided in relation to that. And you probably have to see through कि मुझे acquire करना चाहिए या नहीं करना चाहिए। ठीक है, good, I get that. Now there was a further information that was being provided, which was a memo from a CEO of Livell providing further performance information about Dulett and noting potential risk in relation to the acquisition. So of course, उसने ये बताया कि बॉस मुझे ये इश्यूज है इस एक्विजिशन के अंदर, ये इश्यूज पोटेंशियल इश्यूज हो सकते हैं हमारे लिए। बिल्कुल ठीक है। फिर उन्होंने एक मुझे इंफॉर्मेशन दी इन रिलेशन टू फाइनेंसिंग एंड द स्टेक होल्डर मैनेजमेंट। एक्सट्रैक्ट ऑफ लेवल बोर्ड मिनट्स मीटिंग वर बीइंग प्रोवाइडेड डिस्कसिंग फाइनेंसिंग फॉर द पोटेंशियल एक्विजिशन ऑफ ड्यूलेट एंड स्टेक होल्डर मैनेजमेंट आफ्टर द एक्विजिशन। सो देखो वो एक्विजिशन के ऊपर इतनी सारी बातें कर गया। पहला मुझे बताया करना चाहिए नहीं चाहिए, दूसरा में से आ रहा है कि अच्छा ये पोटेंशियल रिस्क है, तीसरा वो बता रहा है stakeholder management related issues भी कुछ हो सकते हैं, and so on so forth. फिर and last, there was a discussion on new systems, and board committee extracts was there from the directors conversation about implementing new hotel management system at level, and responsible business committee. What now they are really shifting the gears. अब वो मुझे ये बता रहा है कि अगर आपको एक एक इम्प्लीमेंट करना है न्यू HMS, जो होटल मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम, तो आपको उससे रिलेटेड क्या प्लस एंड माइनसेस पता होने चाहिए. दैट इज समथिंग दैट दे आर रियली लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू, और ये डिटेल हमें एग्जाम में दिया रहा था. प्रिया, बात समझ में आती है? देखो, हमें कॉन्टेक्स्ट समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि किस तरह का क्वेश्चन एग्जाम में है. ऐसे ही हम प्री सीन मटेरियल का भी कॉन्टेक्स्ट समझेंगे जो इस बारी आया है. अब इसको समझते हुए श्रेया मेहता जी उन्होंने क्या कहा? उन्होंने कहा देखो भाई, हमारा ओवरऑल एनालिसिस बच्चों के आंसर देखने के बाद कुछ ऐसा है. वो क्या है? मेनी कैंडिडेट्स फेल टू आंसर क्वेश्चंस एज सेट. जो क्वेश्चन पूछे गए उनका जवाब सही से नहीं दिया गया. सम कैंडिडेट्स कंटिन्यू टू आंसर द टास्क दे विश हैड बीन सेट रादर देन टास्क एक्चुअली सेट. क्या मतलब है पता है इसका श्रेया शर्मा जी? हम ना अपने दिमाग में एक भूमिका बना के जाते हैं कि यही क्वेश्चन पूछा जाएगा, और हम ऐसा पूछा जाएगा तो हम उसका ऐसा आंसर लिख देंगे. अब उसने क्वेश्चन कुछ और पूछ लिया, बट श्रेया शर्मा, कुछ बच्चे इतने ना समझ थे, वो वही आंसर लिखा है जो उनके दिमाग में था, रादर देन थिंकिंग थ्रू कि भाई वो क्वेश्चन तो पूछा ही नहीं गया है जिसका आंसर आपके दिमाग में है. इसीलिए हम कभी भी प्रीएम्प्ट नहीं करते हैं प्री सीन मटेरियल को देखते हुए कि ऐसे ही क्वेश्चन आएंगे. हम सैंपल क्वेश्चंस लेंगे. इस बार भी जो हम प्री सीन मटेरियल पे मॉक लेके आएंगे, हम सैंपल क्वेश्चंस लेंगे बेटा, और उन सैंपल क्वेश्चंस को देखते हुए हम बोलेंगे कि इसका आंसर ऐसा होना चाहिए. हम ऐसी कोई भी चीज बैक ऑफ द माइंड रख के नहीं जाएंगे. बात समझ में आती है धनुश्री? ऑलराइट. नाउ दिस सीम्स टू हैव कंपाउंडेड by the introduction of pre-seen material, with some candidates clearly preparing answers from the pre-seen material and using this regardless of the question asked. और ये एग्जामिनर रिपोर्ट के अंदर लिखा हुआ है बॉस, ये मैं नहीं बोल रहा हूँ. दिस इज ACCA एग्जामिनर रिपोर्ट. तो देखो ना बच्चे कहाँ गलती कर रहे हैं मंची. हमने गलती नहीं करनी है. आंसर लैक्ड डेप्थ. मुझे लगता है कि हाँ, जो पॉइंट्स वो मांग रहा था उतने पॉइंट्स नहीं आए. सिंपल कॉपी पेस्टिंग हुई कई जगह, विच इज नॉट गुड. नॉट यूजिंग ऑल द रेलेवेंट इन्फॉर्मेशन. जो भी रेलेवेंट इन्फॉर्मेशन सारे एग्जिबिट्स के अंदर गिवन थी या प्री सीन मटेरियल के अंदर गिवन थी, उसको हमने यूज नहीं किया. टू बैड. ऑलराइट. द कैंडिडेट्स हु फेल्ड बिकॉज दे डिड नॉट आंसर द टास्क दैट वाज बीइंग आस्क्ड. प्रिया, तुमसे A और B पूछा गया, पर तुमने A का आंसर दिया, B का आंसर नहीं दिया. नहीं चलेगा बॉस. मुझे समझना पड़ेगा कि मेरे से क्या पूछा गया और मैं उसका आंसर दोनों का करके आऊंगा. एक के करके आने से नंबर नहीं मिलेंगे. कॉपी पेस्टिंग करी मैंने प्री सीन मटेरियल से या एग्जिबिट से विदाउट एनी रिलेवेंट रीजनिंग, नहीं चलेगा. फेलिंग टू डेवलप पॉइंट्स मेड, नॉट फुल्ली एक्सप्लेनिंग व्हाई द पॉइंट इज रेलेवेंट और इंपॉर्टेंट इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ टास्क रिक्वायरमेंट. कोई पॉइंट अगर तुम लिख रही हो तो उसको टास्क से रिलेट तो करो, ऐसे तो चलेगा नहीं. फेलिंग टू अप्लाई लिवल केस सिनेरियो, लैक ऑफ एनालिसिस स्किल. नाउ दिस इज समथिंग व्हिच आई थिंक यू शुड सर्टेनली नॉट फॉरगेट. आप एग्जाम में बैठने वाले हो श्रेया, तो आपने इंश्योर कर लेना है कि प्री सीन मटेरियल आपके दिमाग में है, एग्जिबिट आपकी आंखों के सामने है, आपका आंसर आपके दिमाग के अंदर जो प्री सीन मटेरियल है उसको कंबाइन करेगा एग्जिबिट के साथ और फिर लिखा जाएगा. कोई भी एक चीज का यूज मैं नहीं करने वाला हूं. मैं सिर्फ प्री सीन मटेरियल का भी यूज नहीं करूंगा, मैं सिर्फ एग्जिबिट्स का भी यूज नहीं करूंगा. मैं इंफॉर्मेशन को कंबाइन करूंगा और फिर आंसर लिखूंगा. मंची पुत्र, बात समझ में आती है मेरी? ऑलराइट. नॉट आंसरिंग द क्वेश्चन दैट हैज बीन आस्क्ड. मैंने बताया 2 पॉइंट बोले गए थे, नहीं लिखा. वेस्टिंग द टाइम मेकिंग इररिलेवेंट कंटेंट. कई बार होता है ना, लाइन भरनी है और लिखना है, कम लग रहा है, लिख दो, कुछ भी लिख दो, नहीं चलेगा. फेलियर टू प्रोवाइड एवरीथिंग दैट रिक्वायरमेंट स्पेसिफाइड. पुअर टाइम एलोकेशन. टाइम एलोकेशन ठीक नहीं होता है तो उस कारण से मैं पेपर पूरा नहीं कर पाता हूं. पुअर लेवल ऑफ टेक्निकल नॉलेज. ये सैड है बॉस, ये सैड है. अगर हम इतना सारा कंटेंट पढ़ने के बाद भी टेक्निकल पर्सपेक्टिव से अभिषेक उसको सेटिस्फाई नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. बस टेक्निकल क्या पूछ लेगा, क्या रॉकेट साइंस है, क्या ही कर लेगा वो। हमने तो इतना सारा पढ़ा हुआ है, हमने तो श्रेया शर्मा पीछे हटना ही नहीं है, हमने तो फोड़ के आना है इसको। श्रेया पेपर कब देना है बेटा? सितंबर में। और श्रेया मेहता जी आपने कब देना है? जून में, सितंबर में?
जून को।
हाँ। तो बेटा इन गलतियों का बिल्कुल और बिल्कुल हमें नहीं उपयोग में आने देना। हमने ऐसा कुछ करना है कि हमसे ये गलतियां बिल्कुल भी ना हों। बात समझ में आती है प्रिया जी? अच्छा, अब एक ना स्पेसिफिक कमेंट की बात करता हूँ जो इन्होंने लिखा। एंड आई वांट, मैंने ना इसे जब पढ़ा ना इस एग्जाम रिपोर्ट को, तो मैंने जेन्युइनली इसको पिक किया। व्हेन कैंडिडेट डिड address the requirement of the task, they generally answered the whole requirement. However, there are too many examples across the exam of candidates not focusing on answering the requirement which had been asked. This demonstrates poor exam technique and should not be expected of candidates at the strategic professional level. Exactly what we have been practicing in our classes. Raft P में मुझे समझना पड़ता है कि मेरा रोल क्या है, मेरी ऑडियंस कौन सी है, मेरे को फॉर्मेट कौन सा दिया गया है, मेरी टेक्निकल स्किल्स का क्या हाल है, एंड मेरी प्रोफेशनल स्किल कौन सी लगनी है। लेकिन मैं लगा तो तभी पाऊंगा ना मंशी, जब मैं क्वेश्चन ठीक से पढ़ूंगा, वो मेरे से एग्जैक्टली बोल क्या रहा है। अगर मैंने वही ठीक से नहीं पढ़ा तो रैफ भी तो गलत ही लग जाएगा ना, वो तो ठीक लगेगा ही नहीं। बात समझ में आती है बेटा? Do you get the content what I'm trying to build out here? Rishika, do you understand that? All right. Now there's some suggestions that they're providing in terms of what you should be thinking about from the examination perspective. We should be structuring our answers very logically. Important. We should not be missing on to that. DKK का क्वेश्चन आया है, हेयर ड्रेसिंग का क्वेश्चन आया है, मुझे पता होना चाहिए कि क्या चीज़ मेरे लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्या चीज़ इस इंडस्ट्री के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है. वी हैव टू बैलेंस द डेप्थ ऑफ डिस्कशन required and the breadth of the points being made. Covering most important points is something that is not to be forgotten at any cost. Not padding out the material with material that does not address the task requirement. कभी भी नहीं करना है. Not making same points 2 or more times. Avoid copy pasting without any reason. Come what may boss, मुझे नहीं करना है, बिल्कुल नहीं करना है और बिल्कुल भी नहीं करना है. Professional skills are surely to be demonstrated come what may. बात समझ में आती है? एनी क्वेश्चन एनीवन? बिकॉज मैं जैसे कंटेंट शुरू कर दूंगा मैं कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं लूंगा एंड होने से पहले. एनी क्वेश्चन एनीवन? एनीथिंग दैट रियली कम्स टू योर माइंड? प्रिया, ऑल सेट? राहुल जी, राहुल सिंह जी, कैमरा ऑन करना पड़ेगा बेटा. राहुल सिंह, राहुल, राहुल पुत्र, कैमरा ऑन करना है बेटा. All right. Moving on. Let's bring the day one, my friend, in terms of what we really have in store from the perspective of what we really intend to cover. In the overall scheme of affairs, we will be starting off with the, of course, syllabus area, my friend, in terms of what the syllabus area is. I think the most important point that you should not be forgetting, come what may, is that मैं किसी भी syllabus area को छोड़ के एग्जाम में नहीं जाने वाला हूँ. Syllabus area is the most important thing. And I should I should not be forgetting that syllabus area covers various parts and pieces that I should be really ensuring that I'm not missing on to that, including the professional skills. There is a link that is being given out here for the people who are still trying and preparing. Do not think that one syllabus area is more important than the other. Many of the people feel that strategy कर लिया, risk कर लिया, governance कर लिया तो पेपर पास हो जाएगा. नहीं भैया, ऐसा नहीं होने वाला है. वहाँ वो क्या देगा वो मुझे नहीं पता है. मैं स्ट्रेटेजिक बिजनेस लीडर को प्रिडिक्ट नहीं कर सकता हूँ एग्जामिनेशन परस्पेक्टिव से. मुझे सारे सिलेबस एरिया पढ़ के जाने हैं, कम व्हाट में. मंची बात समझ में आती है मेरी? Yes. Now this exam is effectively, my friend, 80% technical and 20% professional. So effectively, you only have to write this exam for 80 marks. और आपको 20% marks how you write के मिलते हैं. Those are like professional skills. So you have to display professional skills on the overall basis in the exam, and that is what this exam is gonna be all about. टेक्निकल आर्टिकल्स, एग्जाम टेक्निक, रीडिंग एंड राइटिंग स्किल्स, सिलेबस कंटेंट, हम ये सब कुछ पढ़ते हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ व्हाट यू राइट, बट आप इसको कैसे लिख रहे हो, कैसे एड्रेस कर रहे हो, आप ओवरऑल प्रोफेशनलिज्म दिखा रहे हो या नहीं दिखा रहे, आई थिंक दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इन द एग्जाम, बिकॉज 20% मार्क्स तो मेरे प्रोफेशनल स्किल के ही होते हैं, एंड दैट इज समथिंग आई शुड नॉट बी फॉरगेटिंग कम व्हाट मे. Basis this, my friend, I have picked up 4 major areas that is going to be relevant from the examination examination perspective. That is something that you should not be forgetting come what may. Now those 4 areas are the areas I really want you to concentrate on, because those are the areas out of which most of the time examinations are, examinations or examination is being created, or they are the areas, from which something or the other would come surely in the exam. And that's what we would be targeting, and that's what we will be seeing and addressing in the coming 3 days. Now, if I really talk on, what
these are the four major areas, my friend. I want everyone to concentrate in the coming 3 days. These 4 areas can be a game changer, my friend, for all of you who are appearing for the exam, because 90%, if not more, 90% of your total marks would be from these 3 areas. First 3 areas, of course, fourth is the pre-seen material, but first 3 areas would give you at least 90% of marks. Do not really forget on that. Very important, my friend, that we know all of these 4 areas in detail before we really set out for the exam. Leadership and the strategy related area is the first one, my friend. How can you be a strategic business leader of an organization without having the right leadership traits in yourself, and of course without having done the entire strategy in terms of how one should be doing, and of course delivering that in the context of an organization. Let's say, and I've been part of various organizations, what is the role that is being expected out of me as a leader of an organization? One of the role that is being expected out of me as a leader of an organization is that I should be able to manage the business as is, or as it is, in terms of managing the status quo. Okay, good. Then my next role, or my second set to my role, is that I should be able to manage the growth of the business, thinking about the growth, thinking about what should I be doing more, whether in country, outside country, with these products, more products, and so on and so forth. What can I do more? While I think of that, another important aspect is that what should I be doing with the risk that I'm getting exposed to? Fair enough. What should I be doing from the standpoint of having right internal controls in an organization? Very right, very good. What should I be doing from the standpoint of technological changes or advancements or innovations that are happening? Very right, sir. Very important, very imperative, and so on and so forth. What should I be doing from the overall project standpoint in the organization? Yes, sir. What should I be doing from the change standpoint? Yes, sir. What should I be doing from the standpoint of disruptions that are happening? Yes, sir. Isn't that something very basic that you would get exposed to when you would hit any organization? Yes, sir. If this is those I would say sort of areas, if these are like those sort of areas that you would get exposed to when you would get into an organization, why would strategic business leader exam would not have it in the exam? They would certainly have it, my friend, and they always have these kind of things in the exam. They always throw you under the bus to really understand that do you know in terms of how you should be handling, how you should be doing, or how you should be progressing, how you should be really replying, how you should be really addressing, how you should be really answering in these kind of scenarios when you would get exposed to that in the real life scenario. What kind of leadership skill you would demonstrate in a company which is getting exposed to so many other things? What is the strategy that you would need to have if you have to acquire somebody, if you are going to get into a particular geography, if you are going to launch a particular product, if you are really stopping or discontinuing any kind of company or product or services and whatnot? What would you do from the organizational management standpoint as far as the overall management is concerned? What would you do from the management of control standpoint? What kind of controls you would have in different kind of industry, whether it is airline, whether it is, let's say, cloud computing, whether it is let's say a gymnasium, whether it is the FMCG, whether it is an IT company, and so on and so forth. What would you do therein at that point in time? A big question mark. And if you know that, then you have to really give the examiner not only the understanding of that concept, but also how would that concept relates to the scenario that is given in the question. So you would learn the theory, and then you would learn in terms of how you would apply that theory to the practical exam, and what you would do that is something examiner always looks upon. And that is the reason, my friend, when you would now sit for your exam in the upcoming attempt, what is really imperative for you, or gonna be important for you, is that you are able to understand the requirement of the question. You know the concept, you understand the concept, relate that concept to the question, and then answer that. You have to make your question, make your answer very much relevant to that industry. If you're handling the airline industry, be the CEO, CFO, controller of the airline industry. If you're handling the leather industry, become a leather expert. If you're handling the car manufacturing industry, think as if you are manufacturing the car. You have to step into the shoe, my friend, in order to get the right answer from yourself. This is the mistake, my friend, many of the students do by just writing the theory. Writing the theory will not gonna be giving you marks in the strategic business leader exam. You have to correlate to the requirement of the question, and also in the context of the industry that has been given to you, and then it would be in a classical answer. And that is what you really need to do. I keep highlighting that, my friend, as I've been doing that in the sessions. What is really going to be key over here is that you're not doing these mistakes. You're stepping onto the shoe of the CEO, CFO, board of director, controller, and whatnot of that particular company, and then thinking about as to what can go wrong, what is right for you, what is not going to be the right fit for you, what is going to be the right fit for you, and so on and so forth, and then taking decision for yourself. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now, if you're really going to become a strategic business leader, can you run away from the technology and the disruption that is happening? These Swiggies of the world, these Zomatos of the world, these Zooms of the world, and so on and so forth, the way they have been changing the economy, changing the maths, the Paytms of the world, the way the industry is really changing, or the transactions are really changing. They're really wanting strategic business leader to be able to understand these innovations, understand these disruptions, and seeing as to how would that impact. The recent exam, the question that you would have seen, and if you have given it, but if you have not, the question that came up was that they were implementing one of the recent technological development in their company, or recent technological change in the company, which was really warranted. So if you're really thinking about that kind of a change, you being the CFO, CEO, controller of an organization, how should you be thinking about it is something that is going to be the game changer. You should know that, what are your plus and minuses, and we'll talk on that in a while when we'll touch upon the strategy. But what is really important is, one, of course, you should understand what does this technology mean for the organization on one side, and two, if we will implement that, do I have a strength? What kind of weaknesses I have? Would this be a right preposition? Would this work? And so on and so forth. That you can only answer if you'll step into the shoe of that CFO, of that CEO, of that controller, of that business analyst in that company. I always say, I'm sure many of the Fintrams would correlate that. I always say, step into the shoe of that particular person who is dealing that scenario in that context. I'll become a business analyst of an airline industry if it is a question of an airline industry. I'll become a CFO of a car manufacturing organization if a question is of car manufacturing organization. Because when you'll go over there, when you'll have that as a position, you'll start thinking of like that. Then you would not go bizarre. In general, you may think so many other things, but when you'll become a car manufacturing CFO, then your concentration would be more, because now you know that I am managing a car business, which is a capital intensive business, wherein I would have spent, or I had good amount of investment in my assets, in my manufacturing unit, which would have highest or big depreciation, which would have huge labor cost, and so on and so forth. So when you step into the shoe of a CFO or a CEO or a controller of a car manufacturing organization, your mind start thinking like that. When your mind start thinking like that, then your answer to the questions are also are going to be headed on the same lines. Very important, guys. Do not take this lightly. I'm telling you, with various discussions that I've had with students around the world who have been a very successful fintrammers, they have been saying this, that this mantra has really helped them do well in the exam, because they have really taken the seat at the table of becoming or wearing the hat of that particular person, and have answered in the context of that particular industry, that particular company, taking into consideration the concepts that they had at the back of their mind. We have practiced that a lot, my friend, in the revision bootcamp. Please go and see the past examination questions again. That is gonna be giving you an edge. Do not forget on that. I just wanted to repeat this like a broken record. Please do not forget that. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now, coming on to the last, which is not the least, we will be covering pre-seen material of the upcoming exam on the last day. Do not forget that. We would be covering that together, my friend, in order to kill that in the best possible way. Do not really miss on to that. All right. Now, coming on to the examples of the areas that we'll be covering. This is the expected list, my friend, that we have, or I have for you, that we'll be covering from the syllabus area standpoint. These are the areas which I said I've cherry picked for you, that I really want to go through with you, just to ensure that you have the holistic edge over all these areas. We will be covering the cultural web, which is very important from the leadership standpoint, and of course, how to change that culture. I would be giving you a mnemonic over there also, of course, to help you in terms of having an edge, and of course having the holistic view in terms of what you should be doing when the question really comes your way. Do not forget, my friend, while we do that, we will also talk on various tips and tricks, and of course various ways the examiner has been asking that, and what is the way to answer that. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Going on, we'll be covering from the governance standpoint, we'll be covering, the Mendelow's framework. We'll be also talking on the corporate governance principles, the integrated reporting, again, very important thing, my friend. We'll be talking on that too. And of course, while we do that, we'll add on various other areas, my friend, that you have in your mind. So if you have anything that really comes your way or in your mind, do not forget writing a question onto ourselves. You can also post your questions on, just below this video, or of course in the chat box. You should keep posting the questions, so that towards the end, if there is anything that I can pick up, I'll certainly pick up, and I can really tell you that this is what you should be doing. The intention of this session is that I should be able to resolve a hell lot of doubts for yourself, what you really have in your mind as far as the exam is concerned. The upcoming exam is something that I'll be killing, sir. I would kill the SBL exam in the best possible way. I'm a proud fintrammer, sir, and that is what I really want to carry from this room. You have to be a proud fintrammer, and for that I really need you 100% with me. Promise me that. I can promise you result. Is that clear? Yes, sir. From the strategy standpoint, we'll be covering PESTEL, the Porter's Diamond, Porter's 5 forces, and soft matrix, BCG matrix is something that I picked up for us to be covering. Do not forget that, my friend. Do not forget that we have only taken up few of the pointers, few of the topics over here. There are many others that we have not picked up. That doesn't mean that those are not important, but there is from the revision standpoint, I have picked up few of the specific areas that I really want you to ensure that you're not missing on to it. Is that clear? Yes, sir. From the risk standpoint, we'll be covering, the TARA strategy, the COSO framework, very important. We'll also be covering, my friend, the e-businesses, the disruptions, the cyber security. Again, the kind of changes that are happening are very important, the big data, cloud computing, and so on and so forth. We'll also be talking on the internal controls components and the internal audit, again, very important aspect. We'll also be talking on the strategic change, project management, and the POPIT framework. We are also going to be covering various technical articles, my friend. Now, this is something I really want you to carry along with you. While we have inculcated and of course incorporated many of the contents of these technical articles into our sessions, any which ways, and you've covered that, I know that, but what is going to be important over here is, why my tone go up and go down? because I want you to be awake, my friend. I do not want you to sleep. I do not want you to sleep. You have to be with me for the upcoming 2-3 hours. I really want to give you 100%, my friend, and you should be really, willing and looking forward for taking that from me. What is really important is that when I fly to your country, your state, your city, my coffee should be outstanding, because after you clear your exam, you have to certainly treat me with the cup of coffee. And I guess I can tell you guys with a very much a proud feeling that I have my coffees outstanding around the world now, and you are the only reason for it, because you have lived with me, and you have sort of you have beared me in these sessions to ensure that I'm able to add value to yourself. And I say it very proudly that I have coffee outstanding all throughout the world. You can take the benefit of it, and of course I can take my coffee once you've cleared it. But what is really imperative is that for these 3 sessions, for these sessions of revisions, and of course full course and the revision boot camp, you should be with me 110%. There is no compromise on that. Is that clear? Yes, sir. We will be covering various technical articles, as I said, and of course while we do that, we will also talk on what is the best tips and techniques to really handle those technical articles, and of course the kind of questions that you may really see over there. That is again something to look forward to, and of course answer that over there. All right, some of the other important areas that we'll be covering, and we'll try to have the complete hang of it, is to have the understanding of various professional skills. We have 5 professional skills: communication, analysis, evaluation, skepticism, and commercial acumen. We'll be going through all of that, and of course while we do that, we'll also talk on kind of questions that you may really see in the exam, and of course if you really see that, how one should be answering that. We'll also be talking on various exam techniques, whether it is reading skills, writing skills, time management, and of course formats. Format is going to be the key over here. We'll be talking on that, and of course how should you be killing the exam is something from the format standpoint we will really get into. And of course, last but not the least, towards the end we'll also be touching upon the Q&A. We'll be talking on various doubts and queries that you may have from the examination standpoint, from your preparation standpoint. And as I said, if there is any, keep posting onto the chat, keep posting onto the video to ensure that I'm able to really tell you what exactly you should be doing from the examination standpoint. Is that clear? Yes, sir. I'm loving you, my friend, the kind of patience that you are showing to me. I'm loving you that. All right, moving on to the 4 major areas to really concentrate in the exam. I am starting off with the leadership and the strategy related area. Very important, guys, very important that we are not missing onto it. Leadership and strategy is one of the areas that examiner always have in the exam. And the weightage, if I can really tell you, the weightage of these 2 important things, which is leadership and strategy, can be approximately 40 to 50% at times in your exam. Sir, 40 to 50%? What are you saying? Yes, my friend, it at times goes up to 40 to 50%. They really test you very hard on this area, and we would be spending good amount of time in terms of understanding all of this that you really need to know, just to make sure that you're not missing it and doing the mistake. Now, one thing that I've done over here, my friend, is what I've done is that I've tried compartmentalizing the kind of questions that you generally get in this area, and I have tried giving you what you should be doing. One of the important area, or one of the important issue that I've seen in the strategic business leader exam is that many of the students say that, sir, we do not know which model to be applied where. Sir, we understand model, sir. We understand theory. We have understood. Completely understood. No issue. Easy, sir. We've already done it, sir. Sir, we've done in BCom, sir. We've done in MBA, sir. It's an easy one, sir. I think it's a plain vanilla thing, sir. No problem, sir. But, sir, when it comes to question, no. When it comes to exhibit, no. So it is very confusing, sir. We do not know what to write, sir. We do not know how do we write, sir. We do not know which model to be applied where, sir. It is very confusing, sir. This is a very common statement, my friend, that you would hear from anyone and everyone who is appearing for the strategic business leader exam. And guess I'm just not joking for it. When you will appear for yourself, when you prepare yourself, you would certainly get to know this kind of a scenario, that this is a very unique problem, or a very common problem. I not say unique, a very common problem, and you are not unique for it. Very common problem that students have, that they do not know, as to what they should be writing in that particular scenario. That is where what I've done, my friend, from the leadership and strategy related area, what I've done is I've tried compartmentalizing that into 3 important buckets. And of course, we'll deep dive into some of the areas, but this is something I really want you to at least start off with, because if you have already prepared, I'm assuming that many of you who are attending this session would have already prepared for the exam, and you already know, I would say holistically, what the overall content is all about, and you would have gone through the models, you have gone through the syllabus areas, the theories, and so on and so forth. You've already gone through that. Now you're attempting the questions, you're trying to answer, you're struggling at a bit, you're doing the past exam questions, and so on and so forth. So you're really on the cusp of really doing things just before your exam. Now if this is something that really comes your way, this would act as a Sanjeevani booty. This would really act as as an to an extent, this would really be your raft to clear your strategic business leader exam, if you're really if you can really do an excellence on this. Now why do I say that? There are generally 3 kind of questions that you would see in the exam, and very common, right? And this actually relates to the thing that I really started off saying, that what would you do in an organization? So let's say if I'm a CFO of BCG, what would I do? Many of the times I have to keep assessing what all are my strength areas of my organization, or what all are weaknesses of my organization where I need to work upon. What all are the strength areas of my organization which I can really capitalize on, and so on and so forth. So if I really have to keep doing that, what is the intent that I have? I'm assessing myself again and again to ensure that I am able to take the right decision at right point in time in a right way. So what does that mean? I'm effectively assessing and doing the self-introspection of myself to see that where do I have strength so that I can really do well on that front, and where do I have weakness so that I can improve on it. This is the first question or first area that examiner really tests you on, which is doing the strategic analysis or position analysis or the environmental analysis. You would always, and I can tell you, take down the past 10 years papers, you would always see something on this coming up in the exam, wherein he'll tell you that, or he can ask you in a different way. And I've given some of the examples. There can be many, but some of these examples I've picked up from the past exams. He might tell you, analyze company strategic position, or he might say, analyze the environment and how does that impact. He might say, what are the key factors for you to be successful, or what are the key factors for you to implement this, or do you think that you should be able to manufacture this product considering where you are, and so on and so forth. So whatsoever he's asking over there, he's basically asking you that, do you know your strength? Do you know your weakness? Do you know your position? Have you done your position analysis? Have you done your strategic fitment? Have you done your environmental analysis? Have you done the strategic analysis of yourself? Effectively, he is asking you to do the self-introspection. This is the first area which is very prominent in the exam, my friend. Do not forget that. I would be not surprised if you would get to see something like this in the exam. Surely you would have it. One. Second, you would also get to see an assessment. Now I'm a CFO of BlackRock. I know I'm doing very good, hunky-dory, everything is fine. And then a proposal comes to me. BlackRock is thinking about acquiring a company. Again, I'm just making this out. Do not take names to be the names. It's just an example. BlackRock is thinking of acquiring a company. Now, you have to think about that. Would that be good from the financial or non-financial perspective for yourself or not? Is that a good decision? Or you're thinking about investing not only in the company but also into some of the proposal that has come your way, be it a technology, or be it a people, people kind of investment also we make, right? All of those proposals, all of those areas, you keep getting, my friend, on day in and day out in the organization. What would you do? You would do cost benefit analysis. Very simple. But from the strategic business leader standpoint, you would not only look for finance, you would go beyond finance, and you would also look for the non-financial aspect of it. That is what the real business guy would do. He would analyze what really goes on to the cost, what really goes on to the revenue, what is the cost benefit that I have, and he will also say that okay, this is the cost benefit, and but this is the non-financial area that I have to look forward to. Culture, people, fitment, reputation, risk, non-financial factors, but very important, I would be seeing on this. Most of the exam would have a question on this. They'll give you the proposal, they'll give you something to really talk on and do the financial and non-financial analysis. We, by default, my friend, we are very good on financial analysis, I can tell you. Most of us are good on financial analysis and bad, quote unquote, control me, control you, bad on the non-financial analysis. We have to balance this, my friend. We have to be equally good on both the aspects. If you really have to do well in the exam, you have to do a good financial analysis that this really makes sense. And many of the times, financial analysis is already given in the question. You just have to validate that or put the pointers or take out the pointers from it. But you also have to do the good non-financial analysis. Very important. Got it, sir? This is the second area that we get an exam question, sir. Got that? Third one, very important, I can tell you this with very much, I would say, seeing the precedence, I'm very much confident that, if you get something like question, like pointer number 3, which is decision making, if you get something like that, then that effectively means that approximately 40 to 45 marks are coming from leadership and strategy area. Because if you get a question on decision making, then effectively he'll give you one thing, which is like, so generally question has 2 parts or 3 parts. Let's say, you get a question on decision making. The first part will be like of 24 marks, 25 marks, which will talk on, evaluating any proposal, let's say proposal to acquire, or let's say, a proposal to close, closure of the business and so on and so forth. So on the one hand, you'll be evaluating, and on the other hand, they may ask you a question on, let's say, commenting on the internal environment or commenting on the overall non-financial analysis, financial analysis. So effectively what they're really looking forward to is that they would holistically split it up in a way that 24 marks or 10-15 marks here and there will make it like 40, 35, 36, 40 marks kind of a question, and all of that is something that you would be able to answer if you know the leadership and strategy well in the exam. That is the importance of strategy and leadership as an area. That is what you really need to know from the examination standpoint if this area really comes up. But sir, this is not right, sir. Really, we are not happy, sir. Why? Sir, we are really not happy that you're telling us that these 3 areas that may come in the exam. So this is okay. No, we knew now that these 3 areas will come. We somehow always had the understanding that strategy is highly tested, leadership is highly tested, and we always know that positioning thing will come up, or assessment will come up, or decision making will. We somehow knew, na sir. But what we didn't know is how to answer this. What is the right way of answering this? So that is where we needed your help, sir. What are we talking, sir? I'm loving you, my friend, for that. I'm really loving you. I really love you for this. Because if you're asking me this, then you're in the right direction of thinking about what's right next. And that is what I've done, my friend. I'm not only giving you that these are the areas that will be tested in the exam, but I'm also telling you now how you should be addressing this area. And this slide says a lot, my friend. And I can tell you, if you have done well on this slide, if you have really done well on this slide, then even Lord Krishna on this earth will not be able to stop you clearing this exam. Very important, my friend, that we do not miss on the slide. Very important that we do not miss on this discussion. Very, very, very important that we are understanding this in entirety as to what you should be doing when a strategy question really comes up your way. Very important that we are not missing on to it. So let's understand this. If there is a question, my friend, in the exam, that really tells you, understand, analyze company's environment, external environment, strategic positioning, internal factors, and so on and so forth. What you should be doing over there is something that is written in yellow. What it says is that you should be doing or applying pastel over there. If it is an external environment that you are being asked in the exam, you have to apply pastel. The political, the economic, the social, the technological, and so on and so forth. You have to see through all of these factors to ensure that you're understanding the environment of an organization from the external standpoint, if that is the need. Very important that we are not missing on to that. We will always analyze internal as well as external factors. Always do that. But from the external standpoint, we follow PESTLE, of course, if it is for the organization. But when it comes to, having a analysis done from the industry standpoint, let's say I am going to be doing an analysis as to how I have strength and weaknesses. Let's say I'm in, I'll take the same example that I'm into car manufacturing, and I'm thinking about having the edge or having the pluses and minuses from the standpoint of car manufacturing organizations or car industry. Then effectively what I really need to do over there is I have to follow the Porter's diamond. 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 Sir, why are you repeating, sir? I am repeating that, my friend, so that you do not miss on that. Whenever we are thinking about industry level analysis, you have to follow the Porter's diamond. Do not. Oh, I'm so sorry. I missed on that. It is Porter 5 forces. My bad. Extremely sorry for that. Whenever you are doing an industry level comparison or industry level analysis, you have to follow Porter 5 forces. I'm extremely sorry for that. I just went by, in terms of what is being written over here. You have to follow the Porter's 5 forces when it comes to the industry level comparison. I'll start from the scratch. I think that is important. When you're analyzing the external environment, my friend, you have to follow the PESTLE that gives you how you are doing from the external environment standpoint, whether it is political, whether it is whether it is economical, whether it is social, whether it is technological, and so on and so forth. So effectively your environmental analysis is being done by the PESTLE. When it comes to the industry level analysis as to what kind of pluses and minuses you have from the industry, you do Porter's 5 forces. You understand 5 forces in terms of whatever they are, you understand that, and then you take a decision. We'll talk on Porter 5 forces in a while. I do have a separate slide for it just to give you an insight. When it comes to the geography, thinking about you launching a product in a particular country, thinking about you getting into a particular country or getting out of a particular country, what you do is you follow a Porter's diamond there. You follow a Porter's diamond there. You follow a Porter's diamond there. Sir, why are you repeating, sir? I'm repeating this, my friend, like a broken record. We do not really miss on to that. You have to analyze the external environment by the PESTLE. Got it, sir? You have to do the industry level understanding or get the industry level understanding from the Porter's 5 forces. I get that, sir. You have to do a Porter's diamond from the standpoint of getting an understanding about the geography. So if there is a geography level analysis that you really need to do, you have to follow the Porter's diamond. Porter's diamond, Porter's 5 forces, PESTLE is a common thing that you do from the positioning analysis, but you only have to see what positioning you're doing in that context. If you're only thinking about where you are right now, you would be doing PESTLE. If you're thinking about that from the industry parlance, because the question would say that in terms of the edge that you have in the industry, you would be doing Porter's 5 forces. If you're thinking about particular geography, whether you're going to be getting into a country or getting out of the country, you would be doing Porter's diamond over there. Get that, sir? Get that very clear, my friend. That is what you'd be doing from the strategic analysis standpoint. Now, all of this is external analysis, but you also have to see in terms of what all are the internal factors that are positive for you. Do I have a right head count? Do I have right people? Do I have right technology? Do I have right funds, and so on and so forth? All those internal factors are also taken into consideration for the purpose of doing your strategic or positioning analysis. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Whenever the question on strategic analysis gets in, we do have one technical article today that we'll be covering in a while, which talks on the strategic analysis. But whenever you get to see something on the strategic analysis, think about PESTLE, think about Porter 5 forces, think about Porter's diamond, and think about internal factors. Very important, guys, that we're not missing on to this. We should know which model to be applied where. Now we know, sir, the normal external environment analysis, we have to follow PESTLE. The analysis from the industry level standpoint, we will be following the Porter's 5 forces. When it comes to different geographies, sir, we'll be following Porter's diamond. and internal factors we any which ways have to consider in whatsoever case possible. We are loving you, sir. I am also loving you, my friend. That is what you should be following. That is the right approach, and that is the mantra I want you to live with. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now comes the assessment, my friend. When you are being supposed to do an assessment, as I said, you have to do the cost benefit analysis. Now you may have to compute the net present value over there, IRR over there. If the discounting factor is not available, then the profits over there, and so on and so forth. So on one side you will be doing the cost benefit analysis, and on the other side you should be doing the I would say the non-financial analysis too, which is more to do with that, if I really get into it, what would be the impact on my people? Is that really aligned culturally to me? What kind of things that may go bad, may go right, more from the non-financial factor standpoint, whether it is attrition, whether it is having more people or right people, whether it is cultural alignment, whether it is, we having, legal issues, we having, complex people issues, and so on and so forth. So depending upon all of those non-financial factors, we finally decide that yes, should we be going, should not be going, and so on and so forth. What is really important over here is that we are doing financial as well as non-financial factors taken into consideration, and then deciding the right course of action for yourself. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Coming on to decision making, my friend. Now decision making effectively tells you, now this is a proposal, should I be going forward for, to that or not? Should I be really living by that or not, is something that is very common and very pertinent in the exam. And if that really comes your way, what you should be doing is that you should be doing all that is being mentioned in yellow over here. What it really says is that you have to do strategic fitment, which is nothing but what you're seeing above, which is the strategic positioning match and the financial and non-financial consideration. What you really add on to this fitment piece is that you also do cultural match, whether the cultural match is there, whether what you're really deciding of is good from the future orientation standpoint, will it work for you in the future, and so on and so forth. So effectively when you have done the financial and non-financial evaluation, when you have done the future orientation, when you have done the cultural match, when you have done this, the overall strategic positioning, which is pestle, Porter 5 forces, Porter's diamond, or as the case may be, internal analysis, then comes the feasibility and acceptability. So when I say acceptability is that whatever decision that you're taking, considering all that what we just spoke, should you be going considering that your management would be in agreement or not. So effectively the acceptability is that your management would agree to that or not. Do you know that? If they agree, then of course it is a go ahead. If they do not agree, then of course you have to highlight that management is a concern over there. So from the feasibility standpoint, it is a concern, and from the acceptability standpoint, it is a concern, and then comes the feasibility, which is that do you have funds or not in terms of doing what is being supposed to be done in the question. And if you have tick in the box, right, from acceptability to feasibility, and from the let's say positioning perspective, from the cultural perspective, from the future orientation standpoint, or from the non-financial financial consideration standpoint, if you have tick from all, go for it. There is absolutely no issue with it. This is what you should be doing, and this is what anybody would do in that kind of a scenario. Is that clear? Yes, sir. This slide really tells you, my friend, in terms of approach that you should be following. When it comes to strategic analysis, what is that you should be doing? When it comes to assessment, what is that you should be doing? When it comes to decision making, what is that you should be doing? You should really know it. And I'm telling you, if there is a question on decision making that really comes your way, it is going to be giving you at least 40 to 45 marks or 50 at times. It really depends on what kind of question really throws at you. But if that really comes your way, you should know that you have to do the strategic positioning, you have to do the overall cultural mismatch, or cultural match kind of a thing, or future orientation kind of a thing, and of course financial and non-financial consideration. This effectively gives you the strategic fitment, and then you have the acceptability and feasibility being added onto it. They call it SFA analysis or SAF analysis, as the case may be, but we'll not go that in terms of just memorizing that. We'll go to the logic, go to the basics in terms of why it is the way it is, and we can completely understand that, for the purpose of making the decision, these factors are very important. The cultural match is very important. The future orientation of our decision is very important. The strategic positioning, and of course, having the right positioning done basis, the various models is going to be very important. The financial and non-financial consideration is going to be very important. And then acceptability by management is going to be the game changer. And then comes the feasibility, which is having funds for it. If we have the tick in the box, then let's go forward with it. If we do not, then we have to mention that accordingly. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Very important, guys, that we do not miss on that. This slide is gonna be the game changer if you really implement that. And I'm telling you with with detailed discussions that I've had with various kids and the past exams, all of the questions that you would see in the exam would be either lying in one of the buckets, and you have to answer that considering this. If you are able to answer that, you are fulfilling the need of the examiner, and that is what he really needs. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Should we go forward? Yes, sir. All right. Moving on to strategic position analysis. I think I've covered that. If you're doing the macro environmental analysis, which is external analysis, you have to follow the PESTLE. Industry specific areas, if you really have to refer, you have to do the Porter 5 forces. And then from the geography specific areas, you would need to do the Porter's diamond. You also would do the internal factors, my friend. And what makes you different is gonna be something that you should be knowing. You should know your organization pluses and minuses. We call it to be threshold and the strategic capabilities in terms of what do you have at the best in yourself is something that you should be considering from the strategic positioning standpoint. Then comes the assessment, my friend, and again these are some of the tips that I really have for you, that when you're doing the assessment, what you should be doing. The cost benefit implication is something that you should always do in terms of what that is. And if there is anything that is given in the question wherein and this is more to do with the fact that many of the times appraisal is already being given to you, analysis is already being given to you. If that is the case, always see for any kind of issues that you may have in the exam. Let's say NPV rate that is being used is right or wrong. Sales or cost, they're increasing or decreasing in a different way or in the same way. We should think about it. You should also talk on taxes, if they have not considered taxes. You should also talk on payback period, sensitivity analysis. Those are the things, my friend, you would many of the times you would see in the exam from the context of the fact that they have already given you working in the exam. So when you're seeing that working, and some of the areas that are not clear to you, it is always good to mention that to the examiner, that these are the areas, because that would also showcase the examiner that you know so much. You're a really proud FinTrammer and you really know so much about the case, so much about the context, that you're able to answer that and add value to the examiner. And he would also understand that yes, he's the guy who has more holistic view, more broader view, and he's the guy to be the strategic business leader of an organization. That is the feel that you really want him to live with, and that is what you should be following when you're thinking about working that is being given to you. Many of the times you would see some gaps over there, highlighting those gaps, or even saying that the rate that is being followed or being used is may need to go into further consideration, considering XYZ. So effectively you're raising that out, and of course sharing the examiner that you're understanding that and politely challenging that too in a way that is needed. You should also talk on the financial implication, any kind of funding issues that you may have when you do the financial evaluation, any kind of penalties, probable losses that you may have. Again, this form part of your financial analysis, because when you're doing the financial analysis, you're not only thinking it from the revenue standpoint, you're also thinking from the cost standpoint, and any kind of cost that you may see coming your way, you should be thinking about that and of course having that. And you should also think about any kind of future impact or dilution. Again, the recent question that we saw in the exam was wherein we were thinking of let's say having a company and purchasing that company by the issue of shares. Now, one of the aspects that may come your way is that when you're purchasing a company through the shares, the existing shareholders would have a dilution, because you're issuing more shares. So they would have a dilution in terms of the percentage share that they have on the company. So that is again something, if you really see while you're doing the financial analysis, all of those pointers that if they really come onto your mind, you should be mentioning that, because the examiner really loves it. He really wants you to think that way and should be able to point out these important pointers to the examiner in the best possible way, because that is the industry. That's how industry really works. That's how you should be doing, and that's what you would be doing when you would step into an industry. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now, when it comes to the non-financial parameters, or non-financial areas, you should think about various things. As we just spoke, we should think about the people, the resource availability, not available, and so on and so forth. Kind of monitoring issues that you may have. You may also see the pestle, Porter 5 forces or Porter's diamond, from the non-financial factor standpoint, because many of these factors can be non-financial. It's like having high attrition, having high taxes, having high economic issues or inflation. All of those are non-financial factors to an extent, which may not be impacting your P&L right now, but may would impact it over a period of time. So all of those areas are to be considered from the assessment standpoint when you're thinking about giving a holistic answer of having the cost benefit done and also the non-financial factors done. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Coming on to the SAF analysis or SFA analysis, as you may want to call it. What happens over there is that if it is a decision making question, sir, it can go like 40 marks, sir. We can really know 40-45 marks. Who knows that? You have to do the strategic fitment, sir. So we already done that, sir. From the strategic fitment standpoint, we do the strategic positioning. We know, sir, pestle, we know Porter 5 forces, we know Porter's diamond, we know all of that, sir. We do cultural fitment, we know that, sir. We do future orientation, we understand that, sir. We do the positive assessment, that is the return, the financial versus non-financial factoring. We've done that, so we understand that. And then comes the acceptability, sir. We have to see that, will our leadership will accept it. If I'm listed company, then I have to see that, my board, CEO, would they accept it? If I'm not a listed company, then I have to see, my owners or my leaders, they would accept it or not. If, from the feasibility standpoint, I have to see that, do I have funds? Do I have resources available? Is there any legal complication being available, and so on and so forth. If you can capture these 3-4 slides, my friend, if you can capture these 4 slides, you're there. You're there from the examination standpoint. None of the question in the exam can be out, I would say, or will be outside the scope of what we have discussed in these 3-4 slides. Most of the question that really comes in the exam from the leadership and strategy standpoint are being covered by these 3-4 slides. These can be game changer for you, my friend. Do not undermine the importance of it. I'm telling you, this can really be a game changer for yourself. All that you really need to do is that follow this to the entirety, practice few questions on it, and to the Fintrammers, I can tell you, just go back and practice the revision boot camp. That is gonna be the game changer for you, my friend. It's gonna be the raft P that would take you from the sea of SBL. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now that really brings me to a place wherein now we are starting on some of the important topics that we will be considering from the examination standpoint. If we have to start off with the first one, we have cultural web here. Now, if you really have to assess what? Assess the organization from the cultural standpoint, I have a mnemonic for you. Mnemonic that can really help you know as to what you should be doing in the assessment of a cultural web. When you are assessing the cultural web, you have to do crops. You have to see crops. Now, what does this crops really means? C stands for the control systems. We have to think about that, organization has what kind of control system, whether it is a centralized system, decentralized system, whether it is a loose-ended, closely knitted, and so on and so forth. We have to see kind of control system an organization really have. All right. Then comes the R. R is nothing but rituals and the routine. We have to see the core belief that are there in the organization, what kind of routine an organization really follows, what is very common in that organization, what is not that common in the organization. Very important for us to get the perspective as to what this organization is all about. Then comes the organizational structure, that is O of crops. So C done, R done, O of crops means organizational structure. That will tell us that is my organization tall, narrow, wide, flat, depending upon what kind of organizational structure I'm really looking up to or really living with. I have to understand that what kind of organization this is. All right, sir. That would give me a perspective that what is really happening in my organization basis what the way we are being structured. All right, sir. That is C, R, O, done, sir. Then comes the P. P is the power structure. Now, who are the leader of our organization? What is the way they are managing? a way of their management. How are they managing it is something that I really have to look forward to. Whether it is an autocratic leadership style or a participative leadership style, I really have to know that, sir. I really have to understand to ensure that I'm able to put a pulse on or get a pulse on in terms of what that is. That is nothing but the P of crops. Then comes the S. S stands for symbols. Now what kind of jargons, acronyms, abbreviations, language that is being used in my organization? I can tell you, in BCG we used to have various acronyms, So once you'll understand that, once you are used to that, you're able to understand that what this organization is being using, what kind of jargons these guys really follow, and so on and so forth. So if you really want to do well in that organization, you have to understand those jargons, understand those areas, just to ensure that you're not missing on various important points. Then comes the stories. What has been the history, what has been the past, what has happened in the company at large, what has been the belief, what has been the successes, what has been the failures, and so on and so forth. So I would really be able to tell me that what really works well in the organization. So if you as an organization leader, if you being the leader of an organization, if you really have to understand that what can go wrong, or what is the organization all about, I have to see the crops to really understand that yes, this is what the organization is and this is what is all about. So for assessing the culture of an organization, crops is gonna be the key. You have to see if in case there is something that really comes your way from the strategic fitment standpoint, that you have to do the cultural fitment there. From the strategic fitment standpoint, you have to see through that how the culture is really aligned. If that is the case, you should know that you have to do the crops. You should know that which element talks on what. Once you know it becomes hell lot easier for you to really find out the information, and that is where the key is, or that is where you really have to do well. That at least once you know it, your mind will start working in that direction. So it is very important that we are not missing on the crops per se when it comes to the cultural thing. All right, now, sir, I know now that what is to be looked from the cultural standpoint. Now many of the times you're being exposed to a question wherein you have to change the culture of an organization. If you have to change the culture of an organization, all that you really need to do is you have to understand UMIS. UMIS is the mnemonic that is being given, my friend, to ensure that you're not missing out getting the marks from the cultural question. What you really need to do on the UMIS side is U stands for understanding the culture, which is nothing but understanding the crops. Then mapping the organizational culture, map out as to what exactly it is. And then I stands for identify the changes, considering this the organization really is, this the culture of an organization is, not anything and everything needs to be changed. You should know that these are the elements that are needing a change. These are the elements that I might need to think through in terms of changing them or suggesting a change on. Only look forward for those areas. Then strategize to get those changes done. When you really have to think about strategizing the culture, strategizing a change, you have to of course implement maybe a puppet or maybe another model. So we'll talk on that also in a while in terms of what that model is. But what is really important is that you should be able to strategize what is to be changed, and then comes the starting the implementation. You miss the crops, you miss the marks. Do not forget that. Crops is something that is needed to understand the culture of an organization, and UMIS is the mantra to really follow in terms of understanding the culture and changing them. Very important, my friend. I have given you this mnemonic, particularly keeping things in mind that examiner many of the times ask the questions. If you really ask question on this ground, you should know you miss the crops, you lose marks. You miss the crops, you lose marks. We are Fintrammers, sir. We are not going to be doing that. When it comes to culture, you should have things in your mind that you have to assess it on the C, on the R, on the O, on the P, on the S and S. You have to know crops. And then when you do that, that you have to apply the UMIS over there. You have to understand, you have to map, you have to identify, you have to strategize, and you have to start implementation. You should have that in your blood, in yourself, to make sure that you're not missing on to it. I can tell you, my friend, very confidently, I've seen that in past with all my experiences, that if you have these things running on in your mind and you have a question on the culture, it becomes hell lot easier for you to find out what is really needed in C, in R, in O, in P, in S, and in S. You know the crops. And then comes the only and only UMIS over there, wherein you will understand, identify, map, strategize, and start the implementation of change. If you do that, you would get the marks out of it. Is that clear? Yes, sir. All right. Moving on to pestle, my friend. There's some of the very important pointers that we have picked up just to make sure that we are not missing on to it. I'm sure, my friend, you know this. I'm sure you have seen this. I'm just trying to highlight few of the very important areas that you need to see in the exam just to make sure that you're not missing on to it. All right. From the environmental analysis standpoint, we do PESTEL. We know, sir, political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal. So we understand that, sir. Let me give you one more slide that would really help you in terms of what you should be doing, in all of these areas, and what you should be thinking through if this area really comes up in the exam. Let's say you get a question on the PESTEL analysis that really talks on that you have to do an analysis, whether it is internal, external, or whatever. You know that ultimately you are ending up doing a PESTEL there. Got it, sir? Then you should be thinking about PESTEL. Got it, sir? Then you should be thinking about, from the political standpoint, do you have government policy or stability there? Do you have government approval licensing requirement there? Do you have taxes or subsidy there? Do you have government intervention there? Do you have too much of a government change over there, or stability is a big time issue over there? All of these factors are to be considered from the political standpoint to really take the right decision for yourself. Got it, sir? From the economic standpoint, think about inflation, interest rates, recession, unemployment, and so on and so forth. Think on those areas. When it comes to economic thing, think on those areas to make sure that you're really pointing out these areas. The growth, what kind of, do we have an upturn in the economy, downturn in the economy? Think about that when you're thinking about the economic factors. All right. Thinking about social, thinking about population, thinking about income distribution, thinking about lifestyle, thinking about the age, the kind of age that the country has, thinking about attitude of working, thinking about your level of education. That would really help you in terms of deciding the right things, and so on and so forth. Social factors. Think out, and I'm just giving a few examples, my friend. There can be many more. I'm just trying to be illustrative over here to tell you that these are things that you should be thinking about when it comes to the PESTEL. Got it, sir? T, technological. Think about government spending on research. Think about, the new discoveries, developments, industry focus on the technological effort. Think about the speed of technological transfer. Think about, do you have resources also or not? Think about, internet, online, how much of that is being penetrated. Are you in an area where technology is not there, internet is not there? Then technological advancement itself will go for a toss, and so on and so forth. Think on that. Then comes the, ecological or environmental, whatever you may call it. Think about environment. Think about, pollution. Think about the waste emission. There's a new technical article that also has that has come up that really talks on these kind of factors, and we'll cover that. I'm very soon on that. We'll cover that in detail to ensure that you're not missing on to that. But when it comes to ecological or environmental thing, you should really know that how would that impact, because this would really be impacting your holistic decision. Got it, sir? Then comes the legal. You think about taxation. Think about kind of laws that are there in that country or in that company or in that region. Think about legislations that are really impacting you to work. Think about environmental protection laws if you have any. Think about patent, copyright, trademark. All of those things really impact, my friend, for you to take or work in that particular geography, in that particular domain, and so on and so forth. Always think about PESTEL on these lines. These are really good examples, my friend, what you really find in the exams. Do not forget that. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Again, as I said, this list is an illustrative list. You can get more things, you can get less, but what is really important is that you're not missing out on these areas. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Moving on to Porter 5 forces, competitive forces. Do not forget, my friend, where do you use Porter 5 forces? Sir, when it comes to the industry-wide things, industry-wide analysis, we use Porter 5 forces to ensure or to understand where we are from the industry standpoint. There can be 5 factors to be considered. Number 1, threat to entry. Do I really need to, for example, car manufacturing? Can anybody enter into car manufacturing industry? No. Huge capex needed. Airline industry, huge capex needed. A small, mom and pop shop, anybody can open. So, threat to entry can be a big factor that you need to consider in terms of making any decision. Supplier part. Do you have a dependency on one supplier? Hindustan Petroleum, British Petroleum, 1 or 2 suppliers. Do you have that dependency? Or your suppliers are many? Depending upon that, you have to take the right decision. Threat to substitutes, what you're really into. Do you have many substitutes available, many competitors available? That would really define what kind of your strategy you should be, working for. What kind of strategy would be in that kind of a scenario. Do you have a buyer power? The entire thing that I really make is being consumed by only one buyer, which is the government. So I have a huge dependency on government. What kind of decision making that would have in that kind of a scenario? Do I have a bargaining power or not? And so on and so forth. Competition and rivalry, sort of, having more substitutes. So do you have a lot of competition in the market? Depending on, what kind of competition that you would have in the market, you have to decide in terms of, what should be the right course of action, and so on and so forth. Porter 5 forces, thinking about from the industry standpoint, you have to think about that, what is the right course of action for yourself, considering these 5 factors. What are you doing, where are you, and what you should be doing from the futuristic standpoint is something that you really need to know, really need to learn. Very important, my friend, that we should know that Porter 5 forces Porter 5 forces is used in the scenario wherein we are doing the industry-wide comparison or industry-wide analysis. Very important that we are not missing on to that. Coming on to the Porter's diamond, we know, sir, where we use Porter diamond, sir. I'm really wanting you to tell me. Where would you use Porter diamond? Sir, we use Porter diamond in the scenario wherein we are doing a geographical decision, sir. If you're getting into a country or getting out of a country, launching a product in a different country, and so on and so forth, we would be doing the Porter's diamond. I'm loving you, my friend, for that. That is what you really need to do. You have to do the Porter's diamond over there, wherein we have the factor condition. What kind of factor conditions are available in that country? Raw material, labor, what kind of things are being available? Good, very good. If they are not good, we have to take that decision. All right. Related and supporting industry being available. Very important, my friend. Wheresoever I'm going to Taiwan for manufacturing a leather product. Do I have a related and supported industry being available? Not like Italy, right? Leather products are very much famous in Italy. They have a very good leather product because they have a huge, related and supported, industry sector being available. Taiwan may not have it. I should not go there. All right. Firm strategy, structure, and rivalry. What kind of, rivalry I have? What kind of competition I have? What kind of substitutes I'm getting exposed to? It really would help me take the right decision for yourself. And what kind of demand conditions are there? Do you have a local demand or not? If I do not have a local demand, it's a big concern for me to go and manufacture over there, because then I'm totally dependent on the exports, and so on and so forth. These factors are considered from the Porter's diamond standpoint when you're taking a decision to get into or get out of a particular geography, my friend. You have to consider this. You may not name it, and again, not to say this again and again, you are going to implement a model in the exam without naming a model. And I keep saying that like a broken record in my class. Please do not mention a model in the exam. It is not warranted. What is really warranted is that you're really answering the question without naming a model, but going by the model. So you'll go, by factor conditions, demand conditions, related and supporting industries, or having the firm rivalry, and so on and so forth, firm strategy, and so on and so forth. You'll be going by this without really saying that you're implementing a Porter's diamond. If you're really be able to conceptualize and get all the pointers done in the format that is needed, you are there. You don't have to mention a model, but applying right model to the right question in a right way is going to be the game changer. Do not forget that. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Moving on, my friend, we have the ANSOF of metrics. That is nothing but the product, industry, market kind of a choice that you really need to make when you are really switching on and launching a product, in any country, in any geography, and so on and so forth. You have 4 areas being given by the ANSOF. On one axis we have the market. Now that can be new market or existing market, and the other axis we have the product or services. So what they really say is that if you are thinking about entering into your own existing market and doing your own existing services, you're doing nothing but you are effectively doing the market penetration. So having same or existing market with the existing product is nothing but the market penetration strategy, which can only happen if you are able to demonstrate good amount of cost efficiency. So if I'm into a situation wherein I am only staying in my existing business or in existing market and only doing and living with my existing services, one thing that can only make me survive is that I'm able to differentiate my services, or I'm able to make it as cost efficient as possible. That is the only way to live and only way to survive. All right. Now, if it is an existing market and I'm launching an existing I'm launching a new product or a new service, then effectively it is more like expanding. So you're expanding yourself into new product and services. While you do that, you have to really take into consideration the kind of demand that you would have, and you should be able to fill in that. You should be able to get that at the right price point, and so on and so forth. When it comes to the new market and you're launching an existing product, it is more like you're developing your market. So it is more like market development, because you're going beyond your market and developing yourself into a different region, into a different country. But when you do that, do not forget that since you're going out of your market, and if it is out of your region, the geography really changes. So Porter's diamond really gets into the play. All right, then if you are getting into a new geography and a new product, that is where the biggest challenge is, and that is what they call to be conglomerate diversification, wherein effectively what you're doing is that you're getting into a new area with a new product. It is very risky. You should be 110% sure in terms of what you're doing and why you're doing that. There has to be a right strategy for it, because there is a huge risk involved, and that risk has to be calculative enough. So you have to make sure that when you're writing an answer in relation to this, that answer really mention that you're really exposing yourself to various risks and really exposing yourself to various issues that you may get along your way, so that examiner really understand that you're really having ends of matrix onto your mind. And this is what conglomerate diversification is all about. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now, coming on to the BCG matrix. Again, an excellent matrix, my friend. Most of the companies, I can tell you, most is the wrong word, all of the companies in the world can be put it across onto this matrix, because this matrix really takes care of all of the companies, and they can be at a different stage in their life, but this matrix really helps. And coming from BCG, I can tell you, we take pride in saying that we come from a company wherein our matrix is being used by anyone and everyone in terms of assessing themselves as to where they are, and this is what this matrix really says. On one axis we have the relative market share, and the other axis we have the market growth. What it really says is that anybody and everybody who starts a business would certainly start from question marks, as in their own relative share is low, wherein market growth can be high or low. So if the market growth is high and I'm low, I'm a question mark, because I don't know what is happening to me, why my share is not high. But if on the other hand, if I'm a question mark, I would always intend to become a star or a cash cow. If the market growth is very high, and my growth is also very high, I'm also doing very high, high in terms of my market share, then I'm effectively a star. So high market growth in market, and I have a high market share, so I'm a super good person over there, or a company over there, which ideally everybody would want to be. But most of the time you are not star, you become a cow, because you would certainly see market growth taking a dip, while you may maintain your share. So everybody would either want to be a star or a cow. Star is the case where market growth is very high and I'm able to get the highest market share out of it. Cow is a stage, or cash cow is a stage wherein market is while it is getting dipped, still I maintain a very high share. So I'm a cash cow there, because even in the falling market I'm able to maintain my share. That can only happen if you have an exceptional service, exceptional brand, exceptional differentiation, good price point, and so on and so forth. But if market is low and my share is even low, then I'm effectively a dog there, and that is what I would always do not want to get into. That is the place any company and every company would always avoid. The reason why BCG has come up with these matrices is that they effectively tell you that you should be investing more and more money onto your cash cows and stars just to maintain the share, and you should be spending as less as possible onto the dogs to make sure that you do not get into that domain. All the question marks should be diverging towards either to become a cash cow or the stars, and the investment in the companies should be made considering that into mind. If you get a question on this, you all have a better BCG matrix onto your back of the mind, and think about where you should be investing your money. Think about you becoming a cash cow or you becoming a star. Think on those lines. Do not try to get into the domain of dogs. That's not where you would want to be. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Moving on to, my friend, few of the technical articles that I really want you to get a refresher on. These technical articles are the ones which specifically talks on the areas of strategy and leadership. I really want to scan through these technical articles for yourself, and again to tell you in terms of what you should be doing when you get a question on these technical articles. I'll quickly move on to why this. this is to help the student, my friend, and this is something I've picked up from the technical article itself, that strategic analysis question generally have a problem because you have to analyze as to what you should be doing in that kind of a scenario. So this is to help the student how to read the strategic analysis question, and of course frame a comprehensive view of strategic analysis, and finally coming on to the conclusion. Candidates must ensure, and this is what technical article really says specifically, that candidates must ensure that they understand the detailed process of strategic analysis. And for that, what do they really need to do is they need to understand they should know as to where do they really want to go, what all are the constraints that are there, and if they know the constraints, then what are the key threats from the external environments that they have. And that is nothing but the Porter 5 force or pestle, we know that's but what is really important is that when you're doing the strategic analysis, any analysis and every analysis would want you to know that where do you want to go, and what all are the constraints that you have, and how is external environment either helpful or not so helpful to you. That is what you should be knowing, and that is what you should be addressing when it comes to the strategic analysis question. I think what we just started off with, when we said that these kind of strategic questions will come up, strategic analysis really circle that off, because it really helps you in terms of thinking as to what you should be doing in that kind of a scenario. Now, where do you want to go? Who are the key influencers in your organization? You should be knowing what kind of other stakeholders that you have. You should be knowing in terms of not the direct one but the indirect one, mainly the government, the employees, and so on and so forth, their suppliers, and of course think about this from the corporate vision standpoint. And again, you must have seen, my friend, when we have practiced a question in the class and of course in the revision boot camp, we have really circled down the organization's mission statement a lot, because ultimately your strategy should be somewhat dependent on what your organization is really wanting or thinking through, and your strategy should be somewhere circling off that this is what the overall goal of an organization is, and this is what we should be doing in this kind of a scenario. Now, I just wanted to give you examples of the constraints that you may get to see in the exam. When you're doing your analysis, in terms of that should you be going for a particular thing or not, you should also be thinking about the 6 M's, whether you have money or not, whether you have machinery or not, whether you have manpower or not, whether you have active market or not, whether you have material or not, or whether you can have a makeup or not, which is like, do you have any limiting factor? Does your culture supports this or not? So always have these constraints into your mind whenever you're taking any kind of strategic decisions. These can be food for thought, my friend, when you're thinking about whether it is a question on the external environment, whether it is a question on the financial and non-financial consideration, or whether it is a question on having an ultimate choice of decision making done. All of these factors would help you making that strategic decision, that should I know do I know where do you want to go, which is more like what is the mission statement of an organization. Do I know kind of constraints that I have, which is like 6 M's. Do I know the threats from the external environment, which we have already done, which is like Porter 5 forces we have already done, pestle we have already done. Some of the tips that I may have to give you there is, which is something that we've already spoken. Read the question requirement first, which is very important. Spend time in terms of analyzing the situation. Keep highlighting the situation in the strategic analysis you would like to mention. Structure it and think of conclusion as to what the conclusion would be, which is like more like decision making. Write the problem issues observed with corresponding suggestions always, and be very, very professional. Examiner really likes it. What I'm really trying to highlight over here is that strategic analysis is something that you would anyway have to do in the exam in some shape or the other. But while you do that, always ensure that you're able to understand the constraint factors that are there from the organization standpoint, and of course what all are the external issues you are anyway covered in the pestle or Porter 5 forces or Porter's diamond, as the case may be. But having a understanding about the mission statement and understanding about your internal constraints can be very helpful in terms of deciding the right course of action. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now there is another technical article I really want to revise today, my friend, for you, just to make sure that you're not missing on that, because this is a very recent technical article which has come up, and I really want you to be having a complete hang of it, because even in the last exam that just came in, we had a question on responsible leadership, in terms of what you should be doing in this scenario you are getting exposed to. Now what does this mean? This a technical article is more to help the student to understand that there are many stakeholders for an organization, and you should know, even in your question that you would get in the exam, that there would be many stakeholders. This would help you to have a view on how what you will be deciding or what is being discussed in an organization is going to impact the stakeholders. This would also help, my friend, in terms of how you demonstrate that you are responsible enough, that you are taking the decisions which are not only helping the organization to do what they're doing, but also helping to have a sustainable and long-term success, because you're not taking something irresponsibly. You're being very responsible as far as a leader is concerned, or as far as a human being is concerned. So you're very responsible in terms of thinking not only about organization but also about environment, and that is going to be the key, because you would certainly see, and again I'm telling you, with whatever I've seen, you would now certainly see some questions coming from responsible leadership in every exam. In some way or the other, he would be asking that. So be very important, be very clear on this, that this technical article can be very important from the examination standpoint. Now, what should candidate do? Candidate must ensure that they understand the direct and the indirect stakeholders. Now, this is the tip that I would have, and again, I've picked this up from the technical article. You just have to take it, and ensure that you have this. Always understand that you have known who all can be your direct and indirect stakeholders. You should focus on the broader needs of others rather than the personal interests. So more like, if you're, let's say, implementing a situation wherein you are deploying a technology into a company, or a new technology into a company, think about kind of attrition that it would lead to, or think about a situation that how many guys would get redundant. If these guys would get redundant, then what would be the impact if they will be out of the job, and so on and so forth. So you're thinking about not only yourself, but for the people at large. Or if you're deploying this technology, would that have an impact on the environment as such, in terms of things not working well for the environment, or there is a negative impact on the health of the people, health of the employees, and so on and so forth. So you are taking into consideration the responsible decision making before really getting on to a conclusion. Consider societal and moral implication. As I said, ensure decision making is based on long term rather than satisfying the immediate priorities, which is the profit. So you have to make a decision which is like more having a right impact for the people in a right way. And I do want to give you an example over here. It's really going to be making things very clear for you. Let's say we have a car manufacturer, Kia, and they take care of the staff, very good, keeps the customer happy, very good, adhere to local authorities. Let's say you ensure that all the norms, the traffic management norms or the norms for manufacturing are clearly met, and they you demonstrate environmental stability or sustainability, which is like the hybrid or electrical vehicles are being manufactured. On the face of it, company is really acting in the interest of the stakeholders while making a healthy profit, is a good example of stakeholder theory in action. However, while the organization may believe it is behaving responsibly, there is much more to consider, not least the stakeholders which cannot speak, such as environment and natural resources within it. So we don't know what we don't know. So some thoughts to act responsibly. On the face of it, you may get to see a question wherein everything is hunky-dory, everything is very smart, but you may have to think out. Again, I'm just trying to give you some pointers over here which you may carry in the exam, that you may have to answer it, or you have to mention it in a way that you can make examiner feel that you understand this concept of acting responsibly. You are able to go behind the scenes to really check on some of the important pointers, and so on and so forth. For example, do we involve the stakeholders in the decision that you make? Do you have the holistic decision making wherein the workforce is being, just give an example, giving the workforce a choice about overtime, and ensuring that overtime worked is not excessive, even if the rewards to the workforce are good, and so on and so forth. So you don't have an idea for it, but when you talk on responsibility element, you may have to challenge the organization by this logic, that are you doing this or not? Let's say considering human and environmental impact. So for example, minimizing the use of materials such as rubber, leather, wherever possible, and so that it can have, because it has a negative impact on our environment. Can you reduce it? Because you are in the car manufacturing industry, many of the things that you would be using is of rubber. Are we really working towards that? You are using some kind of synthetic rather than rubber. Can you think about it? Again, I've just taken an example of Kia, my friend. There can be any number of examples, but when you get to see something like that, just go beyond the scenes. Go beyond the scenes to think through that, yes, everything is being given as hunky-dory, but let me just uncover a few things and mention to the examiner that yes, these are things that one has to consider, these are things that one should be thinking about, and so on and so forth. Let's say implementing the end of life vehicle process. This may include that, are you recycling the old parts, and so on and so forth. So while the 4 comments that I just mentioned, on the slide 1, simply mention that Kia is really good company, everything is fine. But even then, when you have to suggest few things, from the environmental standpoint, from the responsibility standpoint, I've made out few things that, yes, this is something that I should be thinking about. Behaving in a socially responsible manner. This could, include such as diverse factors, implementing environmental management schemes, or even protecting clothing of workers which has been purchased from ethical and sustainable resources. So for example, most of the Kia manufacturing unit employees would be wearing a particular dress or particular uniform. That dress is coming from from somewhere which is an ethical and a sustainable source, which is more like helping poor people, and so on and so forth. So you're thinking on those lines, while normally as a businessman we may not be really thinking on those areas. But nowadays, the responsible leadership element is really getting into play, and examiner or the industry really want you to think in that direction, because more you will think in that direction, the better shareholder satisfaction you have, better people satisfaction you have, and better results you give, and better acceptability you have from the regulator, from the shareholders, and so on and so forth. So very important, we are going behind the scenes, providing public value and addressing societal problems. For example, sponsoring university research program, for more sufficient, more safer and efficient vehicles. Is Kia doing it? Good. It is a point. Developing a socially responsible culture throughout the organization, so that employees are encouraged to share same values of equity, sustainability, quality, and acting in their best interest society. You can also, as a leader, show a commitment for introducing various programs that are encouraging, let's say, or somewhere removing the gender pay gaps in the organization or industry as a whole. Do you have any kind of those kind of things? Again, some of these examples may not straight away come to your mind, but some may, right? If those things really comes onto your mind, you should really be having, I'm just giving some examples over here, take some of it and try if those examples becomes relevant for you in the exam, because if exam would have it and you have these examples, you can straight away put that across. Available, so always behave ethically. For example, reporting vehicle emissions truthfully and accepting responsibility for any vehicle faults, and so on and so forth. So that is also you being responsible to the people, responsible to your customers, responsible to the environment, and so on and so forth. So responsible leadership is everywhere. You just have to go beyond the obvious, beyond what is there on the common ground, and then take the right action in terms of suggesting to the management, suggesting to the examiner that yes, these are the things that one can really look forward to, or these are the things one should be thinking about, and so on and so forth. Some tips, read the question requirement first, spend time on understanding your direct and indirect stakeholders, very important. Keep highlighting the situation in relation to sustainability you would like to mention. When you're reading it, think about where all are the areas that are that sustainability is going for a toss. Think about those lines. Just go beyond financial profits, very important. You are not only thinking financial profits, you are going beyond. And in fact, there are some of the areas that will be mentioned in the exam that will be non-financial factors, but just go beyond them, only do not stuck with them. All of the good factors might be given you straight away, but think beyond, very important. Structure it and think of conclusion. Be very, very responsible and professional. Examiner loves it. Examiner loves it. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Coming on to another technical article, my friend. I really wanted to cover these technical articles to make sure, my friend, that you get the hang of it in terms of what that is, just to make sure that you're not missing on impact, not missing on some of the important aspects. Market segmentation is again one of the examiner article on which technical article on which the recent question came really came in, wherein you may have to do segmentation of your own business, basis the market, basis what you really have, and that is where you really have to play a role of a strategic business leader to ensure that you understand this as a concept. One of the important aspects to be in the SBL syllabus is to involve consideration of a wide range of internal and external factors which influence organizational strategic business and ultimately your strategic direction, which is your mission statement. And that is what market segmentation is all about. And market segmentation can be in a different way, as in you may want to split the market into basis how you're doing in a market or basis your customer. Market segmentation involves splitting the market into segments and developing different strategies for those segments. For example, some soft drink producers manufacture some of their products specifically for diet segment. So effectively, diet Coke and normal Coke. Media companies can also do segmentation that, this is more like for teenagers, for old group, and so on and so forth. Insurance company, call centers use segmentation to identify type of sales scripts for different customers based on their age, gender, etc., because they may get calls from different age. Retailers can do it, let's say fast running items and slow moving items. The pricing department can also do. So there are different segmentation in the market that are being available, when it comes to the business or when it comes to your routine deliveries. And on the other hand, there is customer segmentation. It is more like breaking the your customer base into some of the groups, some of the homogeneous groups per se. You break the customer. For example, I may want to break the customer into let's say these are the customers which are like which are more like always into using the credit cards, or these are the customers who are all like, all cash based customers. These are the customers who are really internet savvy. These are the customers who are not, and so on and so forth. So you can really segment your market basis your customer also, because you would have a different strategy being deployed. If I'm able to, let's say, segment my customer who is technology savvy and segment my customer who is not, I would have a different policy for both of them, different strategy for both of them, and so on and so forth. The reason I'm talking on this is that you may get to see a question in the exam wherein you may have to do a segmentation of the industry you are in or the case that you are in, depending upon the kind of demography that you see over there, and basis the market segmentation, you would devise the kind of strategy that they would need to follow. For example, the types of market segmentation can be age, gender, income, occupation, nationality, ethnic group, or from the behavioral aspect, like I said, using credit card, not using credit card, brand loyalty, frequency of product, transaction behavior, online shopping, and so on and so forth. So depending upon what segmentation you have, you would take the right course of action. You can do from the geography standpoint, as to which the customer comes from where, and rural, urban, India, non-India, and so on and so forth. Psychographic, it's more like it's more to do with kind of social status, the personality, the lifestyle. You can also do the segmentation. Loyalty card is one of the example. For example, if I'm a regular flyer, let's say of British Airways, and I'm a gold member, platinum member, I would have a different kind of service there, as compared to the person who would not have that tier, with him or her, as the case may be. So it really depends, where you are and what you're doing, and kind of segmentation you are in. Some of the key benefit of segmentation is that it's satisfaction of customer need, very targeted communication, improved focus, improved competitiveness, better market efficiency, enhance customer relation, and I would say while we do all of it, it effectively helps us in terms of getting more revenue. I still remember I used to fly Qatar Airways a lot, when I was part of BlackRock or BCG for that matter, and most of the time Qatar used to upgrade me from business class to first class on its own. I never requested, on its own, because they were using business class ticket for somebody else who was who was buying business class ticket, and their first class was empty, so they used to push me. So they've segmented me in a way that one, they can keep me happy because they're upgrading me, let's say from a business class to the first class, and at the same time earn more money because they're giving that business class seat to someone else. So when you do such kind of a segmentation, it really helps. The reason I'm talking is segmentation is again an example which got recently tested, my friend, wherein you should know that this is what you should be doing. You should be suggesting the examiner that if you do market segmentation, then you're effectively solving the customer need. You're enhancing the customer, customer satisfaction. You're getting more revenue. You're increasing somehow the focus, on that particular person, and you're getting better efficiency also, better money also, and so on and so forth. So very important that we have it. I don't want to mention this, because this, as I said, this recently came in, so I do want to mention that. You are being asked to prepare a briefing note for a finance director, which effectively, wherein he wanted you to assess the value of organization to undertake market segmentation analysis. Now, when you know this, And when you have understood the exam case or the case that is being given to you, it becomes hell lot easier for you that you can tell them that which kind of strategy would work: geography, non-geography, behavioral, non-behavioral, it's online, non-online. So with what kind of question that really comes your way, you can suggest that if you do this, there can be various benefits, and then you can make out things onto yourself, and so on and so forth. Advise on the most appropriate ways in which they could segment their customers. As I said, when you know this, it becomes hell lot easier for you. So having this thing at the back of my mind can be a real game changer. So that's the reason I wanted to bring this thing here, just to make sure that you really have it at the back of your mind. Is that clear? Does it help, guys? I'm sure it does. It is more to do with the fact that we should not only know the content, but we should also know that how the examiner has been testing us on that, and how can we best address that. And that's what we at FinTramp really focuses on, to make sure that our sessions, of course, including our revision bootcamp, is taking into consideration what is being tested, how it is being tested, and what is the best way to address that in the best possible way. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now, before we really go further, I have one slide to really demonstrate in terms of what all are the offerings that FinTramp really follows, and you should be looking forward to that in case you're coming us for the first time, and of course you're seeing us for the first time.
ठीक. That's pretty much, guys, I thought would give you the strength that you need in terms of coming up the curve, and of course doing what you're doing. uh, I can tell you one thing, with whatever I have seen over a period of time. That's pretty much, guys, what I thought is going to be important and relevant for all of us, especially from the perspective of what we have seen over a period of time really troubling us in various areas, in various modes and functionalities, and various, I would say, questions that we have observed. I've been saying this, and Abhishek, you can correlate to this fact that I specifically told that we'll cater to these things today, which would help us in terms of having a strategy कि हमें कहाँ क्या करना है. Where is that? What is that we need to do at what place? What is that we need to do at what time? Be it strategy, be it leadership, एग्जाम में तो आना ही आना है in any shape and format. बट अगर क्वेश्चन हमारे सामने आता है, एंड ऑफ कोर्स वी हैव टू deal with it in terms of what exactly we should be doing, then what should be our strategy, what should we be doing, and how we should be addressing that is something that we have to really look forward to. That's pretty much, guys. Any question anyone has, anything that you would like to ask, anything that I can help you out with, I'll be more than happy to address any question that anyone may have. Anything that comes from your, from your side, Manchi, Rahul, Rishika, Priya, Shreya, Abhishek, Dhanushri, anything that comes to your mind, beta, that you think I need to answer, I'll be happy to do that. You have to unmute yourself, guys, in case you're speaking. I can't hear you in case you guys are speaking.
Hello.
Yeah, Abhishek.
Sir, have you seen the pre-June mock?
Pre-June mock?
Yeah,
What is that?
practice mock.
Pre-June mock means on the basis of June,
Yes,
upcoming,
sir, exactly.
upcoming June, you're saying?
No, no, sir. we we to practice mock papers. Like, there's a question on chocolate should be perfectly.
I'm not able to understand, Abhishek.
So प्रीवियस मॉक में जो क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं उसमें एक क्वेश्चन था पहला वो काफी ट्रिकी क्वेश्चन था.
प्री जून की बात कहाँ से आ रही है? जून का एग्जाम तो अभी है.
सर आई डोंट नो क्या बोलते हैं वो मॉक पेपर प्रैक्टिस पेपर होता है.
Uh,
तो
can I
अच्छा,
add a question?
ओके.
Sir is referring to
प्रैक्टिस प्लेटफॉर्म,
the
प्रैक्टिस प्लेटफॉर्म पे जो मॉक एग्जाम है. अच्छा, ठीक है,
exactly.
समझा मैं. आप बोलो फिर.
सर उसमें पहला क्वेश्चन स्ट्रैटेजी से रिलेटेड था तो वो काफी अलग था. इट वाज वेरी डिफरेंट.
इट वॉज वेरी डिफिकल्ट.
यस सर.
तो देखते हैं उस डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन को भी देखते हैं. कोई बात नहीं, देखते हैं उसको. ऐसी क्या चीज़ है उसको भी देखते हैं. पहले एक बार ही के लिए ना अभिषेक, आई वुड रियली वांट टू कॉन्सेंट्रेट ऑन द प्री सीन मटेरियल फॉर नाउ. अभी ना हम भटकेंगे नहीं, हम कवर कर लेंगे उसको भी. जो तुम बोल रहे हो ना, विल नॉट लीव दैट साइड, उसको भी कवर कर लेंगे, उस पर भी एक बार डिस्कशन कर लेंगे. बट अभी ना ऑफ ट्रैक नहीं जाएंगे हम डिस्कशन में. लेट्स कॉन्सेंट्रेट ऑन द एरिया दैट वी वांट टू एड्रेस, वी वांट टू कवर, एंड देन लेट्स कॉन्सेंट्रेट ऑन प्री सीन मटेरियल. फिर उसके बाद देखते हैं, अगर हमें उस क्वेश्चन से भी रिलेटेड अगर एक छोटा सा डिस्कशन करना है तो हम वो भी कर लेंगे. बट अभी हम डीरेल नहीं होंगे, अपने जो हमने सोचा उससे डीरेल नहीं होंगे. एनी अदर क्वेश्चन गाइस, एनीवन? श्रेया शर्मा जी, कोई सवाल मेरे लिए? आज तो मेरी बैटरी डाउन हो गई है. प्रिया, एनीथिंग फ्रॉम योर साइड? ऋषिका, धनुश्री, श्रेया मेहता जी, कहाँ गई श्रेया मेहता? वंशी पुत्र, कुछ नहीं पूछना मेरे से बेटा, कुछ तो पूछ डाल. सब समझा दिया मैंने, कुछ नहीं पूछना मेरे से. वंशी, आज हमने ना कुछ ऐसी चीजें पढ़ी हैं बेटा, जो ना अगर तुम पीछे मुड़ के देखोगी ना, अगर तुम्हें शायद पहले पता होती ना एग्जाम में, तो तुम वो गलतियां नहीं करती. क्यों अभिषेक, ऐसा लगा कुछ कि हाँ अगर इस तरह का क्वेश्चन आता तो मैं ये स्ट्रैटेजी लगाता तो शायद मैं ज़्यादा अच्छा आंसर लिख पाता? तो इन इन चीज़ों को ना बेटा मिस नहीं करना है. ये बड़ा कॉमन है एरिया एग्जाम में आने वाला, इनको हमने मिस नहीं करना है. स्ट्रैटेजी बेटा यही फॉलो करनी है और इसी स्ट्रैटेजी के साथ आगे जाना है. बात समझ में आती है? धनुश्री, यू आर विद मी ऑन दिस माय फ्रेंड. I have already booked my tickets for Bangalore for the result day. Right? See, flight tickets are really going up, so I've made an advance booking. I need to go to Bangalore to see Priya and Dhanushri both. अभिषेक तो मैं कभी भी बुला लूंगा ऑफिस, ही कैन सिंपली कम ओवर. श्रेया शर्मा जी, आप कहाँ से, कहाँ पे रहते हो बेटे? अनम्यूट भी नहीं करती हो, अभी भी नहीं करती हो. ओहो, तुम तो बिल्कुल बिल्कुल पड़ोसी हो मेरा बेटा. तो फिर तो वैसे ही नहीं छोड़ेंगे हम, कॉफी तो हमने पीनी ही पीनी है. Dhanushri is saying something. Dhanushri, you need to unmute yourself.
Sir, like what I was telling is, we are all facing this thing that we're not able to unmute ourselves. That's what many of them want a bring message.
Okay, okay. Yes, the Zoom guys are to be blamed for that. आए बाबा, मैं तो अनम्यूट की रिक्वेस्ट भेज रहा हूँ यहाँ से और कह रहे हो आई हैव टू अनम्यूट यू. आस्क, मेरे पास एक ही बटन है, आस्क ऑल टू अनम्यूट, और उसमें 3 बार क्लिक कर चुका हूँ. Anyways. All right, guys. I think that's pretty much we want to cover. I'll probably see you tomorrow, and then we'll pick it up for the day two, and we'll take it up accordingly. Get ready, guys. It's as I said, it's gonna be a stretch run, बट चिंता नहीं करना है. ये प्रेजेंटेशन भी सबको मिलेगा, तो किसी को कुछ नोट डाउन करने का जरूरी नहीं है. एंड ये वीडियो भी सबको मिलेगा, तो बाद में भी रेफर कर सकते हैं. तो घबराना तो हमने बिल्कुल है ही नहीं. बात समझ में आती है अभिषेक जी? बात समझ में आती है? बिल्कुल आती है. Alright guys, thank you very much. Look forward to see you tomorrow. Same time.
Thank you, sir.